Chat, what's going on, brother? What's going on? Let me just hook this up. Oh, we got someone in the chat. Pre-stream. Very nice, very nice. What's going on, boys? I'm just setting things up per usual. Set that goal quickly. Let's see if we can get this thing to work. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, brother? On the kick side of things. I'm good. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. I could just figure this thing out. Frick. Fucking hell. Sorry, bear with me for a second, boys. Can't get this thing to open. Where are you from? From the US, from New York. Man, why is this thing not working? Sorry. Frickin' hell. All right, let's see if that works. From the UK, that's cool. What's going on? Welcome to the stream. All right. All right, there we go. Finally, sorry, boys. But welcome to the live stream. We have a couple things to talk about in this live stream. Actually, a couple of things came out last night since the last time we talked. So yeah, before further ado, I know I was wasting a little bit of time. So before further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is this. So Dana was talking about Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, saying if Islam wins the title, you immediately have a super fight on your hands. So who knows? I mean, I talked about this a couple times. I thought that, it's probably not super likely anymore that we see Ilya versus Islam. But with Dana saying this, who knows? Maybe it is possible that we see this fight get put together. Maybe if Islam wins the belt at 170, maybe Ilya has one more fight at 155, and maybe he moves up to 170. Who knows? Obviously, there's a lot of possibilities at this point. Who knows what's actually going to happen at the end of the day? There's a lot of moving parts for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But that's the first little thing that I wanted to touch upon. The other thing that I want to touch upon, actually from the same podcast, is Dana White talking about this White House card is going to be one of the baddest cards of all time. I mean, obviously he's a promoter. He's going to hype up things. But I do believe that this card could be really, really good. I don't know who they're expecting to put on this card. Oh, sorry, brother. Do I stream daily? I do. Every day during the work week, I do. I want to make something like logos. All right. Anyways, but yeah. So Dana was talking about how this card is going to be really good. Maybe one of the best cards of all time, or one of the baddest cards of all time. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he is a promoter, obviously. He's going to hype up these cards. He was hyping up UFC 318, and I think a lot of people don't think that's very good. So, I guess it is what it is. But I think this card is going to be really good. Who's going to be on it? Who knows? This card is so far out from this point, basically a year out from now. So there's a lot of questions that are yet to be answered about it. But it seems like the UFC is actually trying to put this card together. It seems like before Trump announced it the other day, the UFC was already in contact with the White House, I guess. And yeah, it honestly does seem like they're going to put this card together. So it'll be pretty cool. It's a good thing for the sport. It's a good thing for the UFC. Hopefully it's a good thing for the fans. They put together a pretty fun card with some big names, some big title fights. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm personally pretty excited about that. The next thing that I wanted to touch upon quickly is Islam's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, was talking about how this fight's not going to be in Abu Dhabi, him versus JDM. I think I've heard some rumors in the past, and I think this essentially guarantees it. But this fight is probably going to be at the Garden in New York. Even in this post, I said MSG question mark. I think it's almost a guarantee it's going to be there. Great headline. I mean, the Garden's always a spot where the UFC tries to put on great main events, puts on great cards, and I think this is a really perfect main event for New York and for MSG. Um, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with this, but I do believe it's going to be in New York. Obviously everybody wants Islam versus Ilya, including myself. I think it'd be a really fun fight to put together. But this is kind of, assuming the Ilya thing was never on anybody's mind, I think this fight within itself is actually a really good one. So we'll see what happens. Oh, my chat's not loading here. Oh no, yes it is. John's nervous. But so yeah, we'll see. It should be a good fight. And then the last thing that I want to touch upon, this is kind of the main topic of the live stream. I don't know how true this is, but apparently Khalil Bahalio says that if Khamzat wins the title, he may retire because he has, his health issues and whatever, and he already has a lot of money. I don't know if it's going to be true. I mean, Khalil Bahalio has already talked about some other things. Talking about an injury to Dricus du Plessis a while ago that didn't turn out to be true. So Bahalio kind of has a track record of just saying things and they don't turn out to be accurate or not. I mean, I personally hope Khamzat does not retire, regardless of if he wins or loses. I kind of don't think he will. There'll be a pretty short career for Khamzat, but yes, I mean, it is true. It is accurate that he's dealing with a lot of health concerns going into fights. Hopefully not for this upcoming fight, but for some fights in the past, he's dealt with some health issues. Obviously, he had trouble making weight that one time when he was at 170. So there has been a lot of issues outside of the octagon for Khamzat Chimaev. But in my opinion, I think this is probably, not accurate. I think I think if Khamzat wins the title, he's probably not going to retire. At least I hope he doesn't. But I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens in the fight, who wins it. And if Khamzat does win, we'll see if he does retire. But as I said, I really don't think I really don't think he will. But yeah, so that's all the little news that I wanted to talk to you guys about pre-fight. I'll full screen this. But yeah, can I just okay. What's going on? PK, what's going on, brother? Chimaev is number one bullshit. Khamzat is obviously he's a really good fighter and all that, but I'm assuming you're rooting for Dricus, and I would agree with you. I think Dricus is probably going to win this fight. Well, I don't know, probably going to win this fight, but I think he has a really good chance to win this fight. It's going to be determined in the first round. I think Dricus is going to be able to stop some takedowns or at least apply some pressure in the first round, make Khamzat really work. And if he is able to do so, I think in rounds 2, round 3, round 4, and especially in round 5, Khamzat's going to start to gas out. And I think Dricus is really going to be able to pick up the pace and possibly find a victory. I wouldn't even be surprised if Dricus is able to find a finish in the later rounds as well. So really interesting fight, really good fight. You have two guys that have been winning a lot. Khamzat's undefeated, and for Dricus, he's been undefeated in the UFC on a pretty long win streak as well. Been pretty dominant, honestly, both of these guys. So it's a really fun fight to put together, and we'll see what does end up happening at the end of the day. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I do lean with Dricus in this fight. But yeah, we'll see what happens in that one. And what else we got here? Let's do a quick Twitter check to see if anything else came out since we've been streaming or prior to it. I also have a video that I wanted to react to with you guys in just a second. But I just wanted to check. So what do we got? We have Yoel Romero signed with the BKFC. All right, cool, I guess. Dana White saying that he really wants to put together John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I mean, I talked about this before. I think it's actually possible. Do I think it's likely? No, I don't. But I actually think it's possible because of this White House card. The reason I say that is because the White House card is going to be a year from now, essentially, and Tom has been talking about how he wants to be very active at this point, maybe fight a bunch of times to finish out the year, maybe 2 more times before the year ends. And if that is true, he might be able to get he might be able to get 2 or possibly even 3 title defenses under his belt by the time we get to next July. And if that is true, one of the things and one of the reasons for why John Jones didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall was because he didn't think that Tom was a legitimate champion. Now, obviously, Tom didn't have the ability to fight for the belt or the undisputed belt, so of course it wasn't his fault. But that was one of his reasons. So if Tom is now who he is, the undisputed champ, and if he gets maybe 2 or maybe even 3 title defenses by the time we get to next July, maybe John will see him as a legitimate champion at that point, and maybe he would actually be more willing to fight him. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I would say most likely it probably won't, but at the very least, I think it's a possibility for that. John says, are you into reading about conspiracy theories about MMA or in general? But I guess, I mean, I guess it depends what it is, but I guess. But yeah, we'll see what happens for that one. In general, yeah, I am. Depends what it is, though. It depends what it is. But some of them I think are interesting. Yeah, I mean, all right. So this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to pull up a video that I thought was kind of interesting. One second. I wanted to pull up a video that I thought was kind of interesting. Oh, no way. This is dead. Oh, no, it's not. All right, let's see. This always takes me a second. Let's remove this. Do that. Bear with me for a second, fellas. I'm just trying to pull up a video that I thought was interesting that we could react to. All right, there we go. Let me do this. Let's do that. And all right. So this video is ranking top 10 knockout artists in the UFC right now. So I thought we'll react to it and see what we think.
I've been doing some soul searching, okay? I just booked a flight to India, and I was about to go join a Buddhist monastery and live the rest of my life as a monk.
By the way, before we get into it, I just want to shout out this guy's channel. This is from Tony Has Died, so hit the like button, subscribe to him if you haven't already or if you don't know. But yeah, let's get into it.
In the mountains, isolated from the rest of society, when I remembered that it's actually Derek Lewis fight week, and I have to make videos talking about that. So Tony Has Died, will be breaking down the top 10 knockout artists in UFC history. If you like the video, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube shit. And let's get straight into this. Starting with the honorable mentions for this list, which are Dustin Poirier, Josh Emmett, Jack Della Maddalena, Justin Gaethje, and Sergey Pavlovich. These are all people who are phenomenal knockout artists.
Yeah. I would agree with probably all these guys. I mean, they all are knockout artists in different ways. For Dustin, I think he's a knockout artist in more of a technical way. Gets in boxing range, lands a bunch of counters. We saw it against Michael Chandler when he landed that perfect counter. We've seen it against Benoit Saint Denis, similar thing. So he kind of does it more so on skill, I guess. But when you talk about a guy like Josh Emmett, he kind of just has a big right hand and a left hook, but he just has a ton of power. So that's how he's a knockout artist. For JDM, kind of similar to Dustin in a way, but a little bit different. He also does a great job at getting in the pocket, putting together combos, landing big shots. That's how JDM is a knockout artist. For Gaethje, he has a good amount of power, but also he does a great job at getting in the pocket and utilizing uppercuts. I would say that's probably his best punch. And for Sergey Pavlovich, he's a pretty good boxer as well. Really fast hands for heavyweight, and he hits ridiculously hard. So obviously all these guys are knockout artists, and I would agree with these honorable mentions.
In their own way, super popular fighters that are known for their knockout ability, but I think they just missed
let's see who's on this list.
Or maybe just a tad bit overrated when it comes to their knockout power. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Number 10 on this list, we got Joaquin Numansub.
All right. Starting out, I'm going to be honest, I completely disagree with this. Buckley is, he hits pretty hard, but I don't really agree with this one. I mean, he is maybe a knockout artist a little bit, but I don't think he's a top 10 knockout artist in the UFC right now. I'll pull up a list of the UFC fighters. I'm sure I can find 10 guys higher. Even the honorable mentions, I would consider all of these guys to be higher on the list than Buckley. So I don't personally agree with this. But let's get back into it.
A Buckley.
Over 8,000 men are permanently broken free from the peeler by watching one single video training that you can actually watch by clicking the link below.
170-pound contender in the UFC, holder of the best knockout in UFC history, the jump spinning back kick against Impa Kasanganay. And now he's in the UFC welterweight division. He knocked out Colby Covington. He knocked out Wonder Boy. He knocked out Luque. He knocked out Andre Fiallo.
Well, Fiallo he knocked out. Colby was a doctor stoppage. And what was the other one? No, I forgot. What was the other one?
Now he's in the UFC welterweight division. He knocked out Colby Covington. He knocked out Wonder Boy. He knocked out
Wonder
Luque.
Boy. He did knock him out legitimately, but he was losing. But I guess it doesn't matter. He knocked him out legitimately.
He knocked out.
The Luque one was kind of a weird performance, I thought, from Luque. He kind of just accepted getting TKO'd, but
Andre
fair.
Fiallo.
And Fiallo was a legitimate knockout.
He wins almost all of his fights by knockout. He's got crazy power. And yeah, Joaquin Buckley, number 10 on this list. He's like a mini Mike Tyson. You know what I mean?
Powerful.
Like he's just a ball of human muscle, like human muscle. Everyone's fucking made of muscle. He's like a ball of muscle, man. And he's just got that one hit knockout power. He's got crazy hooks. And he just puts all of his power into those hooks. Number 9 on this list, we got Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia.
Top 10? I don't know, but
he's won all 6 of his UFC fights.
He is powerful.
By knockout. They are really good knockouts. Like these knockouts are brutal every single time. Knocked out the fake Guram Kutateladze, the Canadian Guram. He knocked out Sungwoo Choi. He knocked out Malik Wazel-Casa, which is a really, really good aging win. And he knocked out Chase Hooper. And that win is aging super well for him as well. He's on a good 5-fight finish streak, and he's about to fight Calvin Kattar next. And I think he's going to be able to knock out Calvin Kattar. Number 8 on this list, we got Jiří Procházka.
All right, this one I agree with.
Jiří Procházka is probably one of, if not the best finisher in the UFC right now. He finishes all of his fights by either. I think he only has one submission. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean he's 4-1 in the UFC. All of his wins come by knockout. He has one
submission versus Glover.
He has got one submission to Glover. But even when he was in Ryzen, he only went to decision once. This guy's knockouts are crazy is the point I'm trying to make, bro. Knocked out Volkan Oezdemir brutally. Knocked out Dominic Reyes in one of the best KOs of all time. Spinning elbow. Submitted Glover. Knocked out Rakic and then knocked out Jamal Hill. The only reason he's not like higher on the list, I think that he gets a little couple of like TKOs in some of his fights. Like some of his fights, they aren't just like out cold knockouts.
I don't know if this is ranked in order or not.
Number 7 on this list.
He should be.
We got Lord Gene Silva.
Gene Silva's a knockout artist as well.
Knockout.
Good power.
4 of his wins in the UFC have come by knockout. He has one submission over Bryce Mitchell.
But I think Jiří should be higher.
Out of Drew Dober. He knocked out Charles Jourdain with an uppercut. Nobody had ever knocked out Charles Jourdain up to that point. Knocked out Weston Wilson. Knocked out Kevin Vallejos on the Dana White's Contender Series. And I think that win is going to age super well. We know how good Vallejos is. He knocked out Milsic Baghdasaryan, and then he defeated Bryce Mitchell. His striking is phenomenal. It's on point. Gene
really
Silva
good striker, good power as well. Very physical.
Best knockout.
Take a shot really well.
Number 6 on this list.
This one I would agree with as well.
Prates. I mean, when this guy Carlos Prates connects with people, they go out bad.
Left hand is
like I don't think you guys understand how
against everybody he went up against.
Carlos Prates
it was very apparent.
He absolutely colded Trevin Giles out badly. Like Trevin Giles was left unconscious for like a minute after Carlos Prates hit him. He knocked out Charles Radke with the knee to the body, and then he fought the Leech on UFC 305 and got one of the best knockouts of the year. The Leech had never been knocked out before either or finished until he faced Carlos Prates.
That was a very good one.
When he landed a crazy 1-2
The way he
down
did
the
it was
pipe
really
right
good.
on Leech's chin and put him
Impressive.
out cold. And then the Neil Magny fight just really showed how much of a knockout artist that Carlos Prates is, because he
I'm not too high on Neil
literally
Magny,
just barely touched Neil Magny. Like literally,
that's
like
true, though.
I think like barely hit Neil Magny top of his head. We all love CP, all right? Who doesn't love CP? Okay. But yeah, he almost finished Ian Gary as well. So yeah, man. Carlos Prates is a force to be reckoned with. And I do reckon that he'll win his next fight by knockout, whoever that may be. Number 5 on this list, we got Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. RoboCop is an underrated knockout
RoboCop,
artist in the UFC.
I would agree with this as
All
well.
Of his 8 wins in the UFC,
ridiculously
6
powerful.
come by knockout.
I might as well pause. Ridiculously powerful. His last fight was kind of a good indication of how good of a knockout artist he was, because I thought he was kind of losing. It was early, but in that first round, I thought he was kind of losing, and then he just landed sort of like a shovel uppercut or a hook or whatever, and his opponent completely went out cold. So ridiculously powerful. And obviously Hermansson's not the only guy that he knocked out. He knocked out a bunch of guys over the years. I think one of the best fights that I've watched, and I know this term gets thrown around a lot, but one of the craziest fights I've watched was man, what the hell's his name? He's actually fighting this weekend. Let me find this. Let me find this quickly. So now I'm forgetting his name. Is he fighting this weekend? Maybe it's next weekend. Oh, it is this weekend. It was when he fought Chidi. That was one of the craziest fights that I've ever seen. So yeah, I definitely agree with him being on the list. RoboCop.
And I'm pretty sure he's dropped 2. Like I think he dropped Petrosian, and he dropped Jared Cannonier in their fights, if I'm remembering the Petrosian fight correctly. But he is coming off of another knockout as we speak against Jack Hermansson, and this one is just as brutal as all his other knockouts. Hit dramatic, like he just has thud in his shots, bro. Like when he hits people, it puts him out badly. He doesn't have like super high level technical ability, but that's like what you're worried about when you fight RoboCop, is getting knocked out, and that kind of factors into my list a little bit. It's like, is your main tool your knockout ability, and how good are you at implementing it? And I'd say Gregory Rodriguez is hella good at implementing this. Let me be clear. I knock out everybody. I'm the best ever. Knock out anybody in the UFC. Let me be clear. All right. He knocked out Chidi and Jaquani in a pretty close dogfight. Gregory Rodriguez, he's fucking good, bro. And I think he'll be a ranked middleweight at some point. It sucks he ran into Cannonier. He dropped Cannonier twice in the first round. It just shows how powerful he is. But yeah, RoboCop definitely deserves to be in the top 5 of any KO artist list.
He's pretty good. RoboCop is pretty good. I would just say the issue with him is his gas tank could be a little bit of an issue. A lot of his fights do turn out to be 1-round fights. When he gets his knockouts, obviously they're usually in the first round. But as we saw in the Cannonier fight and maybe some of his other fights as well, it seems like he kind of gasses out as the fight goes long. In the Cannonier fight, it seemed like he gassed out in the second round, which wasn't a great sign. But in general, his cardio, I guess, would be an issue. Rick, what's going on, brother? 318 blows, bro. Just admit it. Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's definitely not great. But yeah.
List coming in at number 4 on this list, we got the holder of the most
Derek
knockouts
Lewis.
in
Can't
the
really
UFC, Derek the Black
say anything
Beast
about
Lewis.
that.
Now,
I definitely agree with that.
Derek Lewis is not as good as he used to be. All right, I think we can all agree that Derek Lewis is kind of shitty these days. All right, but that does not take away from the fact that he is still one of the best knockout artists in the UFC.
Oh, I'll admit it, brother. It's not that good.
To even prove that point, he literally main events almost every fucking fight he's on because he knocks out everybody anytime he fights. Now, look.
Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only
I
AI
agree
you
with
know
you,
is
probably
ChatGPT.
Derek,
Let's
or
be real. Most
Rick.
people over
You know, Derek Lewis was never amazing, but he always had that nuclear option, just land one right hand and he can finish anybody. That's kind of what his career is based off of. But in terms of skill itself, you know, not great. Yeah. Anyways,
Knocked
let's
out
get back into
Rodrigo Nascimento in the 3rd round of his last fight. Lost to Jelton Almeida by decision, pretty bad. But then he knocked out
5
Marcus
minutes on the
Rogerio
timer,
de Lima with a
brothers.
flying knee. He knocked out Chris Dawkins. He knocked out Curtis Blades with an uppercut. That win has aged so well. And look, this kind of proves the point I'm trying to make, right? Despite Derek Lewis having literally no technical ability whatsoever, he's remained in the heavyweight rankings based solely off.
Do I think 319 is good? Yeah, I think so. Well, let me see what the card is. Let's see. Well, I know the main event is really good, but the rest of the card, let's see. Trickus Khamzat, tremendous. Cannonier, MVP, kind of a weird fight, but possibly could be fun, I guess. Mir Shark and Ola Jacek, that's not a good main card fight. Barbosa and Jakar Close, also not a good main card fight. Bobby and Diego Ferreira, not a good main card fight. Brian Battle versus Ruzaboyev, that's a fun fight, but that's like a prelim fight. It could be fun. Tim Elliott versus Kai Sakura. I personally think Kai's a pretty fun fighter, so that's fine. Hooper and Hernandez, that could be fine for like a prelims. And that's it so far. I'm sure they're going to add a lot more fights. I mean, there's got to be at least one, probably even two more main card fights that should be added to UFC 319. So I'm sure they'll add some fights. But as it is thus far, like amazing main event. Outside of that, nothing is really that good. But yeah, they'll add more fights, I'm sure.
Off his ability to hit someone and knock them the fuck out. All right. Knocked out Alexei Olenek, knocked out Volkov. I mean, his fight with Ngannou, especially, that was.
Dude, Rick, you love saying bro. How exactly did how did Ben Askren get sick? I don't know. I heard that he had the flu and then he got staph at the same time, and it was just a bad combo, or I don't know. I don't even know exactly what happened, but that's what I heard, that he got the flu and staph at the same time. Because he still wrestles, so that's how he got staph. But no, I don't think it was a staph that ruined his lungs. I think it was the flu. The flu could get into your lungs, but I think the staph maybe weakened his immune system. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what happened, but yeah, bro, nobody. All right, my bad. I mean, I didn't claim to be an expert on what happened to Ben Askren. But it is a really sad thing that happened. It is a really sad thing, but you know, I'm happy that his surgery was successful. I'm hoping that he gets better, and it was really nice. But yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, let's get back into the video.
That was such a boring ass fight because of how good his knockout power is. You know what I mean? Like, his knockout ability is so good that Ngannou was afraid to fucking implement his style on him. So number 3 on this list, we got Shama Shama.
Pereira is definitely obviously
Shama. We
deserves
got
to be
Alex
on this list as well.
Pereira, Poatan Pereira. I mean, what is there to say about this guy that hasn't already been said before? All right. I mean, his run in 2024 is probably, it is legendary. All right. So he knocks out Jiri Prohaska.
No, well, as I said, I think what it was, I'm not sure, obviously, but I think what it was is he got the flu and staph at the same time, and it, you know, so that's what made it as dangerous as it became. But that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard.
with a left hook. Then he knocks out Jamal Hill with a left hook. And then he head kicks Yuri Prohaska. He basically knocked out Yuri twice in this fucking fight, right? He knocked him out at the end of the first round, but he got saved by the bell. And then he got knocked out 13 seconds in the round 2. And then he knocked out Khalil Roundtree Jr., who honestly I've been hating on a lot recently, but it's still it's a decent win, all right? Roundtree looks improved, all right? But yeah, he knocked out Israel Adesanya. He knocked out Sean Strickland. I mean, his left hook, I think, is probably just like, I mean, bro, what can you say about
the Roundtree win is actually aging very well for Pereira, by the way. How much money is paying the Japan trip, homie? Well under 10K. Well under. I'm using points for the flight. I don't know exactly how much total, but well under 10K.
His left hook is the deadliest weapon in MMA. And I'm honestly thinking about picking him again in the Ankalaev fight, bro. I'm not going to lie. He stuffed every single takedown from Ankalaev. All he has to do is make a couple adjustments, bro. And I feel like he can find the shot on Ankalaev. And if he hits Ankalaev, he's going out, bro. If he hits Ankalaev.
He could be an Ankalaev. I just don't know if he will. It's not only that, he couldn't stop takedowns or he couldn't get off the cage. It was also that the pressure of Ankalaev would turn out to be a pretty big problem for Alex. I think that was the difference. I mean, obviously, if he's able to land a big left hook moving backwards and he lands it, that completely changes everything. But yeah. Right, let's keep pushing, bro. That's sensitive. Like 5K for the tickets. Yeah, well, so the flights are going to be they're obviously not free. I'm going to be using points, but I'm not going to be using cash for those. So those will cover the flights, and then for like when I'm there, I'm just going to be doing Airbnbs that are relatively cheap. So yeah.
Ankalaev, he can finish Ankalaev, bro. But yeah, man. I think that he's 9-2 in the UFC. 7 of his wins come by knockout.
This is the premium Garmin duffel 45
ads,
liter
bro.
by
Come on,
Half
Tony.
Day. It's a transforming 2-in-1 travel duffel bag.
What is there to say? He kind of fell off a little bit, but I'm still on the Pereira hype train. I still think he can do it. Number 2 on this list, we got
Tom's a good one.
Tom Aspinall.
Super physical, hits really hard, really fast.
Been knocked out by an MMA fighter. What would it take? Tom Aspinall, when he hits people, they go out. Like that, bro. He is the fastest heavyweight we have ever seen. We thought that Cyril Gane was going to be the fastest heavyweight of all time. Now, Tom Aspinall makes Cyril Gane look like a fucking joke because not only does he have speed and power and timing, but who do
you think Aspinall fights next? I think he fights Cyril Gane. He'll beat Gane, almost guaranteed. He'll just take him down and submit him, I think. Or even on the feet, I think he can have success. But I think he fights Gane next. And after that, we'll see who they match him up against. You can see the Blades rubber match because they're 1-1. I mean, he's not going to do it right now. He just fought Blades in his last fight. So I think it's going to be Gane. And then after that, if Blades gets another win, maybe they can put together another fight. But I honestly, I think Blades is going to need to get a couple of wins before he gets another title shot against Tom. I mean, he was just finished by him a fight ago. So we'll see. But in terms of the fight itself, I don't mind it. Beat square in the first fight, bro. Well, Aspinall kind of just blew out his knee. I'm a Blades fan, but he blew out his knee. That was his victory. But that was a clean leg check. It was a fair win for Blades. Sure. I'm a Blades fan. I think he's good. But yeah.
But he also has power. And when he hits somebody, they fucking go over every time, bro. They fucking crumple like the Twin Towers. All right. But yeah, knocked out Curtis Blades, knocked out Pavlovich, knocked out Marcin Tybura. He's a great fighter. I'd love to fight him. Sergey Spivak. He knocked him out too. Knocked out Volkov. I mean, he actually just submitted Volkov, but knocked out. I mean, all of his wins come by knockout in the first 30 seconds of the fight, bro. First minute of the fight, he wins by knockout every time. And I mean, his knockout ability is so good, it literally made John Jones run away from the sport. Need I say more? Okay. Tom Aspinall is such a good KO artist that he literally made John Jones retire because of his ability to knock people out cold. Need I say more? Need I say more? But I will. I will say more. He has the shortest.
I mean, that's fair, but they did fight again, and it wasn't that close. Listen, I'm a Blades fan. I think he has good skill. He's pretty fast on the feet for heavyweight. He hits really hard. I think his striking is solid. His wrestling is pretty good. I just think he struggles with his IQ sometimes when he fights the top guys. When he's fighting guys that are like mid-level or lower level in terms of the heavyweight division, I think he's better than all those guys, and he'll have a lot of success. But when he fights like, Tom Aspinall at this point, who I think is probably the best heavyweight, or certainly the best heavyweight by far, head and shoulders above everybody else, or if he fights a Cyril Gane or maybe some other fighters, a Pavlovich he lost to as well, he kind of just has like a lapse in judgment, and he goes into the Sergey Pavlovich fight just striking when he has a wrestling advantage. So I just think his IQ is not always there. But in terms of skill, I think he's right up there with anybody, honestly, at the heavyweight division. But yeah,
His average fight time in UFC history with anyone that has over 5 fights. And he is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. So for that reason, we got to put championship caliber people a little bit higher. I know I put Yuri kind of lower, but Tom Aspinall deserves to be up here, bro. Number 2 on this list, Tom Aspinall. And number 1 on this list, to absolutely nobody's surprise, Ilya El Matador Topuria.
Topuria is obviously number 1. I agree with that.
It makes me sick to my stomach to see what he did to Charles Oliveira.
I mean,
what
Charles,
he did to Max Holloway. Max Holloway
or
had never been knocked
Volkanovski
out
back to
in
back
the
to back.
entire history of the UFC.
The thing about Ilya is he's not just a guy that has a lot of power. He's a guy that also sets things up effectively, and he puts together combos probably better than anybody else. So I definitely agree with Topuria being on this list and him being number 1.
Been in the UFC for fucking 15 years. He's never even been dropped before. And Ilya Topuria knocked him out. Volkanovski, undefeated at 145 pounds. His only losses in the UFC were to Islam Makhachev at 155 pounds. Knocks out Alexander Volkanovski cold. The 3 best fights in a row to have on your legacy, bro. That's the best 3-fight win streak of all time. No doubt. And then he fucking 10-7 Josh Emmett. He scored one of the only 10-7 rounds in UFC history. Dropped Josh Emmett 3 times in 1 round. Choked out Bryce Mitchell. Knocked out Jai Herbert. Knocked out Ryan Hall. Knocked out Damon Jackson. How fucking good is Yusuf Zalal, mate? But yeah, Yusuf Zalal is low-key the GOAT. But no. Even with Tom Aspinall, he'll hit people and they'll still be semi-conscious and then he'll finish them with ground and pound. Or like Alex Pereira, when he hits people, they'll be very confused and then he'll finish them off with some ground and pound. No.
Patty's going to club and sub Topuria. I can see it happening. I mean, he's a lot bigger than Topuria. I don't think that's very likely, but it's possible. I mean, anything's possible in MMA.
That shit, bro. He throws follow-up strikes, but they're completely unnecessary every time. Like he threw follow-up strikes on Volk.
That is true, actually. But yeah, basically we got the point. So I would say overall the list I would agree with. But there were some guys that I think were probably a little bit too high on the list, or some guys that I didn't agree with, like Joaquin Buckley. I don't think he should be on that list. But yeah. But overall, solid list, good video. Check out his channel if you guys are interested. Tony has died, so good video. And yeah, get back to the full screen. Rick says Jai almost clubbed him out cold. Ilya was hurt really bad. It was a perfectly timed head kick with Ilya coming in. Ilya, I think, was throwing a counter shot, and he got caught with a head kick while he was doing so. But he was able to grab the legs right away, and then he was able to find the knockout later. Patty has better grappling. That's poor, bro. He's almost definitely a better jiu-jitsu practitioner. Does he have better grappling skills? I think Topuria's wrestling is better than Patty's, but Patty's most likely better in jiu-jitsu. John says if Paddy keeps his distance and keeps his legs, I can see him having some success. That's how he's going to fight, and I think that's what he should be doing. You know, against Ilya, you don't want to get on that inside boxing range. He's just too powerful. He's too good at putting combos together. It's just not a smart strategy, and I don't think Paddy will do that. I think, as you said, I think he's going to keep distance, utilize footwork, utilize a lot of leg kicks. I think we're going to see a lot of leg kicks from Paddy. And he's going to try to find opportunities to clinch up and maybe find takedowns. But that's basically what I think his strategy is going to be. I don't think he's going to be using much of the hands, maybe some jabs at range. But outside of that, I don't think we're going to see much from the hands with Paddy. You know, he's done that earlier on in his career, and Jared Gordon was piecing him up. So I don't think he's going to try to do that against Ilya. Obviously, Paddy has improved. He's made improvements, but I think at this point he kind of knows what he can do on the feet, and that's just stay on the outside, utilize leg kicks, and if the opportunity presents itself, go for a takedown, clinch up, and maybe get a takedown. That's how he has success. But Paddy gets hit a lot. He does get hit a lot. We saw it against Gordon, although he made improvements from that Gordon fight. We saw it in some other fights as well. I just think with Ilya, you know, whether or not Paddy gets hit a lot, I think Ilya is just a little bit too good. I think he's going to cut off the cage effectively. I think he's going to get on that inside, put a combo together. And Paddy's chin is legitimately very good, so I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to take some shots early from Topuria. But in the end, regardless of how good your chin is, if you're getting hit a bunch from Ilya, you're probably just going to go out. With Charles is like almost essentially the first shot because he kind of ran into it, and his chin is not like amazing. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. But you know, a guy like Max Holloway was able to take a couple shots early, but eventually he went out and he had one of the better chins that we've seen in the UFC. So for Paddy, he's a bigger guy than Max, so maybe he'll take some more shots than Max was able to. But I kind of agree. I think in the end, Ilya will land a bunch of shots, and I think he'll find a finish. Paddy didn't get hit a lot against Chandler, bro. I agree. I do agree. But I also think, you know, that was almost a symptom of Chandler being a little bit washed. I don't think he was throwing that much. Chandler obviously has never been super technical or anything like that, but a reason why he had success in the past versus some of the guys he went up against, like Poirier or Gaethje or even Charles Oliveira the first time more so, is because he just throws out a lot of volume and he's super explosive and he hits hard and whatever. I mean, he was able to catch all of those guys that I mentioned, at least hurt them to a certain extent. But in his fight against Paddy, it seemed like he didn't use any of his explosion. He was kind of sitting back a little bit, and I think based upon that, Paddy wasn't really getting hit. Not saying that Paddy didn't make any improvements. His distance management didn't change, because that's not true. He did make improvements. His distance management is a lot better now than it was. But I think Ilia Topuria is, I mean, it goes without saying, is a much better fighter than Michael Chandler was. And especially at this point, I think Chandler's pretty washed. I meant that he takes shots sometimes, like against Chandler. I did against Chandler. Yeah, Chandler hit him clean once, I believe, when Paddy was going in for a leg kick. Chandler landed a clean overhand right. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, Chandler didn't hit him much, but I mean, Jared Gordon hit him a lot, and Topuria is a lot better than Jared Gordon and Chandler at this point, obviously. But yeah, and Ilya's a much more technical striker than Chandler. Goes without saying. It's actually not even close. Weight class matter, bro. Let's not get crazy. Topuria is small, man. Guys at welterweight would just bully him, bro. At welterweight, yeah, maybe. At welterweight, it might be too big of a jump. But for Paddy fights at 155, so at 155, I know it's only been 2 fights, Jai Herbert and Charles Oliveira, but I think Topuria proved that he could fight at 155 against some of the better guys. Paddy's probably the biggest guy at 155, though, so we'll see how that matchup looks. In their face-off, Paddy looked a lot bigger than Topuria. Who knows if that fight's even going to be next? Maybe it's going to be Gaethje versus Ilya, or maybe Arman versus Ilya. We'll see what happens. But I'm kind of rooting for Paddy to get the next shot, and we'll see. Yeah, bro. He has been talking about it. Yeah, he has been talking about it. I wouldn't be shocked if he decided to move up. I mean, I think what Dana wants is for Ilya to get one more title defense, and if he does that, and if Ilya wants to move up, I'm sure he'll allow him. Will he do good at 170? It's probably too big of a jump, honestly. But if anyone can do it, it probably is Topuria. I mean, he's very well rounded. He has a lot of power, but ironically enough, I feel like he doesn't rely on his power, if that makes sense. Just because it's not that he's just throwing big right hands and wild left hooks. He's kind of setting everything up pretty nicely. So I think even if he moved up a weight class to 170, I mean, that's a big jump from 145 to 170. He even fought at 135 at one point in his career. So that's a pretty big jump. But, who knows? Who knows? Don't get too crazy, bro. He might be well-rounded, but he's still 5'6". Yeah, I mean, he's going to be significantly smaller than guys at 170. I'm not saying that he's going to have success at 170. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a crazy thing at this point, and a lot of factors need to happen for that to happen. Topuria is obviously going to need to beat the next guy he goes up against. Maybe that's Paddy, maybe that's Gaethje, or maybe that's Arman. So he's going to have to beat one of those guys, which, in my opinion, I think he beats all of them. But obviously, it is a tougher fight if he fights Arman. And even if that happens, I think Islam's probably going to need to win at 170 for Ilya to move up. I think if Islam does not win at 170, which I think is a real possibility, I think it's possible that JDM beats Islam. I think it's like a very close fight, but if Islam does not win, then I don't know if we see Ilya moving up. Because maybe we'll see Islam versus Ilya at 155. There's a lot of moving parts, so we'll see. I mean, there's been a bunch of times in MMA and boxing when we thought, something was definitely going to happen and it didn't happen. A certain fight or a guy moving up or whatever. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But at this point, I think it's a little bit too early to say whether or not he's actually going to go for that third belt. But of course, it is possible. You would be cool to see two ladder. As you take it, set a ladder. Sure. But yeah, that'll be interesting, I guess. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, they are sort of partnered with the WWE at this point, so. Maybe that's something they look into. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the live stream, be sure to hit that like button. It really does help me out a lot. And if you guys want to, obviously, feel free to hit that super chat, to drop your super chat. It does help me out a lot, but obviously, no obligation or anything. I appreciate you guys just for being here, just being in chat, asking questions, and just watching along in general. So thanks, guys, just for being here. I really appreciate it. Probably it's a good idea. It could work in real MMA as well, not just pro wrestling. Sure. Send a message to Dana. Maybe he'll like it. But yeah. But yeah, so anybody who's new, just joining the live stream at this point, there was a rumor that Khamzat Chimaev may retire after or if he wins the belt at UFC 319 over Dricus. I personally don't think it's super likely. Caio Bahalia was talking about it. He was saying that he heard because of Khamzat's the fact that he has so much money at this point, and the fact that he's dealing with like a lot of sicknesses going into fights and injuries going into fights, and that one time where he missed weight and all those problems, that he may consider retirement if he wins the belt at UFC 319. As I said, I personally don't think this is accurate, but that's what Caio Bahalia is saying. Bahalia in the past has said things that didn't turn out to be true, though. Like Dricus, he said Dricus, broke his leg and he's going to be out for a long time. That didn't turn out to be true. At least we don't think it turned out to be true. I mean, Dricus is fighting relatively soon after Caio said that. So who knows how accurate this information is? I don't think it's super accurate. But yeah, that was the rumor that came out today, actually. But we'll see. I think the fight itself is a really good one. Probably the best fight the UFC can possibly put on at this point outside of Ilya Islam. But we'll see. First round's going to determine that fight. Can Dricus stop takedowns in the first round? I would say probably not. I think Dricus is going to get taken down. But if he can at least, survive in the first round, um, who knows? Well, if he survives in the first round, I think Dricus will win the fight. But it's a big question mark. Golden, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Could be true, very possible. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not like out of the realm of possibility. Khamzat obviously has struggled with sicknesses and whatever, and he's also very rich at this point. So maybe after getting the belt, that was his ultimate goal. And if he's able to achieve that at that point, maybe in his mind, he's just like, whatever. I'm just gonna retire and enjoy my life. Of course, it is possible, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I just think a guy like Khamzat, though, he's going to want to fight longer. Guys like Islam and Ilya, I think both of those guys have a real chance of retiring early. I think they actually will. Both of them have also talked about potentially retiring early. For Ilya, I think he wants to maybe get a third belt if it's possible, or fight Islam if it's possible. And then after he accomplishes that, if he does, which is a big if, of course, I think there's a real chance he could retire. And for Islam, I think if he wins against JDM, he may honestly retire. Being the double champ at that point, I know his mother doesn't want him to fight that long, and I'm sure that that Islam also doesn't want to fight for that long either. So I wouldn't be shocked if he retires soon. But for a guy like Khamzat, I kind of see him as one of those guys that live and breathe MMA, and he just trains all the time because that's just what he likes to do. So I mean, can he retire? Of course, I do see the logic behind it. He's very rich, and also he he deals with sicknesses a lot, going into fight camps and training too much, overtraining and all that. But in my opinion, even if it is true that Khamzat did retire after beating Dricus, if that did happen, I still think he would be a guy that would consistently train. And if he's consistently training, I mean, he's still pretty young. Why not just continue to fight and make more money? But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, I do agree. Like, it is like logical, the reasoning at the same time. So we'll see what does end up happening there. But yeah, but outside of that, obviously we have the card coming up this weekend. Teixeira versus Derek Lewis. It's an interesting card. I kind of talked about this before on Twitter. Let me answer your question quickly, actually. Pre-COVID, Khamzat in 2020 fought 3 times in a month or something. He really wants to fight. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Listen, I mean, it makes sense. The logic is there. And yeah, I mean, obviously after during COVID or pre-COVID, whatever that was, when he was fighting a bunch of times, back-to-back weeks when he fought, it's not really the same guy as what we're seeing now. I mean, Khamzat doesn't fight that often. I think part of that was probably because he wasn't able to get into the U.S., but at this point, he is able to get in the U.S. Obviously, he's fighting in Chicago. So maybe that will change things for him. Maybe he'll be a little bit more active. But at the same time, probably the biggest reason for why he wasn't super active was because of him getting sick all the time based on overtraining or whatever. So I do see your logic, and I do see Caio Bajalio's logic about that. And yeah, man, I wouldn't be shocked. Well, it would be surprising, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, I would say. The logic is there for Khamzat potentially retiring if he does beat Dricus. But yeah, anyway, so for this upcoming card, Derek Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira, I kind of talked about it on X. Follow me on there if you guys haven't already. Link is in the description, I believe. But I kind of said this card is like a black tar heroin card, and I think that's true because there's some fun fights, yes, but most of these fights don't really have much meaning, in my opinion. They're kind of just fights that got put together. They don't really have much meaning in terms of rankings or anything. And the reason why I called it that is because we didn't have a fight card last week, and we're getting a fight card this week. So at least there's something to watch, I guess, over the weekend, UFC wise. So that's why I called it that. But for the main event, obviously we have Taliesin Teixeira and Derek Lewis. I think Teixeira is going to win. He just has the better physical tools, in my opinion. Derek Lewis hits really hard. Obviously, he can knock out anybody, but I just think Taliesin is going to utilize his length. He's significantly longer than Derek Lewis. He also hits really hard. And at this point, and really throughout his entire career, but especially at this point, Derek Lewis is kind of a kill or be killed kind of fighter. And I think against Taliesin, based on Taliesin's power, based on Taliesin's length, and based on Taliesin's chin, I think Derek Lewis is probably going to be killed in this fight. And I'm expecting a first, maybe a second round TKO or a KO for Taliesin Teixeira in that one. But outside of that, the co-main event, we have Wonder Boy and Gabriel Bonfim. So what's going on, brother? I thought you were coming on the stream. What's going on, brother? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you? Welcome to the stream. We're just talking about Khamzat Chimaev potentially retiring if he wins against Dricus du Plessis. In my opinion, I don't think that report is accurate, but I could see the logic behind it. The logic behind it is he, he's just getting sick a lot going into these camps, and also he has a lot of money, so maybe he has no more meaning if he wins the belt. That would be his ultimate goal, obviously. So maybe he wouldn't have that much more drive to fight anymore. But we'll see what happens. I still also think it's a real possibility that Dricus wins that fight. But, it's a really good fight. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's legitimately a 50-50 fight. We don't usually see 50-50 fights. But I think this fight is one of those rarities where it is a 50-50 fight. But yeah, so for the co-main event for this upcoming card, we have Gabriel Bonfim and Wonderboy Thompson. I know Bonfim's a huge favorite. Everybody thinks he's going to win, and I would agree he's probably going to win. But one thing that I will say is I think it could be pretty binary. If the fight's stuck on the feet, I think Wonderboy is going to have a lot of success. Outside of that, bonk that could happen for Wonderboy. He was just knocked out in his last fight versus Buckley. Also, Bonfim hits relatively hard. He's really physical. I think Wonderboy would actually have a lot of success on the feet. It's just the only thing is can Gabriel Bonfim get a takedown, which I think he probably will be able to in the end, just because Wonderboy has been, historically had trouble with guys wrestling against him and taking him down relatively easily. So I definitely do think Bonfim's going to win, but in terms of the odds, I know Bonfim's a huge favorite, so maybe it's worth a shot. Placing a bet on Wonderboy Thompson if you do that. Outside of that, obviously we have Calvin Kattar and Steve Garcia. I think this is going to be a really, really fun fight. I think this is probably going to be the fight of the night, to be honest. Both of these guys really go for it. Really good boxing from both guys. Very powerful from Steve Garcia. Very slick boxing from Calvin Kattar. And I know Kattar's on a little bit of a losing streak at this point, but I think he can definitely beat Steve Garcia. He's a great chin. He's a little bit more slick in the boxing, in my opinion, than Steve is. And I slightly lean with Calvin Kattar, and I believe he's the underdog. So maybe there's some value there if you do bet. What do you think about Islam moving up to 170? And what is your take on JDM versus Islam? So Islam moving up to 170, I think, is actually a good move. I think it's his natural weight class. I always thought he was really big for 155. And as his career progressed at 155, I think we really saw that. In his last fight versus what's his face? Moicano, I think we really saw the effects of the weight cut in that fight. Islam really didn't look good at all on the feet, and in previous fights, he looked pretty good. I mean, he's a pretty good striker. But in his fight versus Moicano, I thought he looked really sloppy on the feet. I thought, he just didn't look that great. And I think that's in part because he was cutting too much weight, moving down to 155. So I think Islam moving up to 170 is actually a better weight class for him. I think it's his more natural weight class, and I think that's a benefit for him. But him going up against JDM, I know a lot of people are leaning with Islam in this fight, but in my personal opinion, I think JDM could really bring a lot of problems for Islam. I think his inside boxing is going to prove to be big. I don't think Islam's going to have much for JDM if JDM is able to get on the inside. And also, I think this is really going to be the first fight that Islam has had where his opponent is bigger than he is. JDM is going to be bigger than Islam. So we'll see how Islam deals with the power of JDM, deals with the boxing combos of JDM. And we'll see how that pans out. I think it's it's a really close fight. I honestly could see either guy winning. It's kind of 50-50, but I think based on odds, Islam's going to be a decent favorite. So I would personally, if I'm betting, I would personally go with Jack Della Maddalena. I think there's a real path to victory for him. In his last fight, he was able to stop takedowns against Bilal Muhammad. And yes, Islam is a better wrestler than Bilal is. At least I believe so. At the end of the day, I still think it was a net positive for JDM, and I think going through that sort of experience and going through that sort of fight, stopping takedowns as much as he was able to, I think is great experience going into this fight against Islam. And I do believe he'll be able to stop takedowns versus Islam. Not every single takedown, but I think he'll be able to stop a lot of them, honestly. Rick, are you going to the card in November at MSG? I'm not sure yet. I definitely might. I would like to, but I'm curious to see what card they put together and how much it's going to cost. I'm assuming it's going to be JDM versus Islam, and if that is true, I definitely would like to go to that card. But we'll see. We'll see. Isn't Manhattan close to you? Yes, it is. It is close to me. But yeah, I would like to go to the card, but we'll see how much it costs and who's on it. But I'm assuming, as I said, it's going to be Islam JDM, which is a great fight. So I guess the only question at that point would be how much does it cost? So that would determine that. But if I do, I'll record some videos. I'll throw it on Twitter or on posts. I've been trying to get a little bit more active on the post feature on YouTube. I threw up a little bit of a poll today. So if you guys didn't see that, be sure to check that out. I'll be interacting with you guys a little bit more on there. How much you're willing to pay? Probably going to be at least 500. Probably will be. Yeah. If Islam's on the card, I'm assuming it's going to be like 800 at least. But it's expensive. But I don't know. I guess it would depend how I'm feeling at that time, or like how am I doing financially, how YouTube's doing, and how I'm doing with my other job and whatever. But we'll see. The ticket prices are high. The Toronto ticket prices are so high for bad seats too. Yeah, everywhere is getting like really ridiculous for the ticket prices. Even like cards that I don't think are good. UFC 318 in Louisiana, the ticket prices are really high. It's because it's Dustin's retirement fight, and also I think in part because they haven't went to Louisiana in so long. But these ticket prices are just way too high, especially in New York. It's like that's just highest prices. So that sucks. What do you think about Patty versus Ilya? Will Patty upset get his hammer like balance, or will he? I think Topuria is going to find a KO. As I said, we were touching upon this a little bit before, but I think what Patty's game plan is going to be going into the fight is utilize footwork and a lot of leg kicks. I know a lot of guys going into fighting Ilya Topuria look to utilize the leg kicks against him. Topuria does have that boxing stance, so he is susceptible to being leg kicked. We saw a guy in Max Holloway have success in that aspect. We saw a guy in Volkanovski also have success in that aspect. And I do believe Patty's going to look to go in a similar area where he's going to look to utilize a lot of leg kicks. Now, will it work? I mean, he'll probably survive, almost definitely survive longer than Charles Oliveira was able to. And maybe the leg kicks will start to add up as the fight does prolong. But in my opinion, I think what it's probably going to be on the feet is Topuria might struggle with the leg kicks a little bit early, but eventually as the fight does progress, I think Topuria is going to be able to cut off the cage effectively, get in that inside boxing range, essentially forcing Patty in that inside boxing range. And at that point, I really don't think Patty's going to have much for Topuria. Yes, he has a great chin. Yes, he's probably going to be able to take some shots. But I think no matter how good your chin is, Topuria just hits a little bit too hard, in my opinion. So that's what I think. Patty will snatch Ilya's next. Yeah, it's fair. I mean, it's possible. I mean, listen, he obviously has a really good submission game, but we'll see. I think Topuria is probably going to want to look to avoid the ground. Patty's superior on the ground. This will be a great fight. I would agree he's probably superior on the ground, but I think Ilya has better wrestling, and I think his takedown defense is pretty good. But on the ground, in terms of his jiu-jitsu, in terms of his positioning, I would agree that Patty's very skilled in that aspect. That's certainly the best aspect of his game. I just think it's going to be hard to get Ilya down. for Patty. And if the fight's on the feet, I mean, I certainly think it favors Topuria pretty heavily, in my opinion. Do you think the robot was too much or fine? It was way too much. I was actually like very not happy with it. He completely knocked out Hermanson out cold with that like kind of like left uppercut shovel hook, whatever it was, and then he went for like a huge ground and pound shot. Listen, I guess. I guess he was just, in instinctive fighter moment. Obviously, I wouldn't know, but I guess it's just an instinctive fighter moment, and they're just trying to finish the fight and waiting for the ref to get him off. But in my opinion, I thought it was a little bit too much. We see Ngannou do that as well sometimes when he used to fight in the UFC, where he'll knock somebody out and he would do like the biggest like hammer fist, like right on them when they're completely out cold. I was never really a fan of that either. But maybe it's just in the moment kind of thing, and they don't mean anything behind it. Robocop is trying to give the Joker too much brain damage as possible. Clearly, yeah. I thought it wasn't great, but whatever. What are you gonna do? He was talking after the fight how much of a fan he was of him and whatever. So whatever. I don't think he meant any ill intent by it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. I definitely wasn't a huge fan of it. But yeah, so we got some good cards. Let me close some of these tabs here. Hopefully, is the stream looking good on your guys' end, by the way? I've been having some issues with lag. So I hope everything's good. I'm gonna try to get a new computer soon. I just gotta save up some of that money. Hopefully we get there soon. Ilya versus Makhachev. We'll never see that. I think there's a lot of moving parts for this fight. I would really like to see it. It's obviously the fight to make. I kind of wish, instead of Charles versus Ilya, it was Islam versus Ilya. That's really what I was hoping for. But since that didn't happen, and obviously Islam at this point is moving up to 170, going for that second belt, I think it's a lot harder to see at this point because there's a lot of moving parts. Ilya's next fight is going to be at 155 against either Patty, Arman, or against Gaethje. I personally prefer it to be against Patty over the other two. But it's going to be against one of those three. Obviously, Topuria is going to have to beat them. In my opinion, maybe I'm glazing, whatever. If you guys think I'm glazing, just let me know. But I think Topuria would beat all three of those guys. But still, it obviously is a big what if. I mean, he obviously could lose. All three of those guys are very talented fighters. And then after that, Islam, I think, would also have to beat JDM at 170, and if both of those things happen, Ilya wins and Islam wins their next fight, then I think it's possible that we could see Ilya move up to 170. It is a huge step up, obviously. He fought at 135 at one point, so moving up at 135 at one point in his career, moving up to 170 is a crazy jump. Obviously, they're going to be so much bigger than Topuria at that point, and at a certain point, how much higher can you possibly go? But I wouldn't be completely shocked if we saw Topuria at least try. Is he going to win? I don't know. We'll see, but I wouldn't be shocked if he at least tried. But yeah, a lot of moving parts, but it's possible. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Don't get crazy. Ilya's small man, 5'6". He is small, but I mean, people said he wouldn't have success at 155 either, and he was able to knock out Charles Oliveira. So we'll see. Is almost Zeke Water? That's my take. Fight. Yeah, it is possible. So how is he? It's honestly a tough fight to predict, just because Islam's going to be a decent amount bigger than Ilya. And obviously, it would also be interesting to see how the wrestling goes. Everybody would assume Islam would have a wrestling advantage over Ilya, which I would agree with. I think he will. But the only thing that I will counter that argument to is we did see Ilya in the wrestling against Charles, and Ilya was able to not only stop the takedown but able to reverse Charles. Now it wasn't a super big sample size, obviously, but we also saw Charles wrestling Islam, and he was able to have a good amount of success getting back up when he was on his back, stopping some takedowns, even offensively going for some takedowns. So, I think Charles is probably worse than Islam in the wrestling, but I think it's at least close. And MMA math doesn't usually work, but Ilya was able to have success in the wrestling against Charles, and Charles was able to have some success in the wrestling versus Islam. So I would assume Islam's a better wrestler than Ilya, but I think it could be relatively close. But on the feet, if the fight were to be on the feet, I think that's really where Ilya would have most of his success. If this fight happened at 155, this might sound crazy, but I honestly might even favor Topuria, just because, as I said before, Islam at 155 appeared to be cutting a lot of weight, and I think in his fight against Moicano, he kind of had a bad weight cut. And if he has a bad weight cut against Ilia Topuria, I don't think it would go very well for him. But regardless, at 155 or 170, I think on the feet is exactly where Topuria wants to keep the fight, utilize his jab, get on that inside boxing range, and really go to work. But for Islam, he's going to want to shoot takedowns. He's going to want to stay on the outside, look for head kicks like he was able to land on Volkanovski. Topuria has been head kicked before by Jai Herbert, so maybe that's an aspect or an area that Islam tries to go to and tries to utilize. I'm sure he will throw a bunch of head kicks. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously very winnable for both guys. I think it's a really close fight. But I also think the winner could be determined by what weight class they fight at. At 170, I think it's a much harder fight for Topuria. At 155, still a really tough fight, but I think Topuria could win. Joshua, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Yeah. The kicks are his weakness. Struggle against Volkanovski. Islam has a bazooka. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people say kicks are his weakness. He does get kicked a lot. Obviously, he does have that boxing stance, but I don't know. I mean, he gets kicked a lot. I will say that. But I don't know if we've really seen evidence that leg kicks have a significant effect on him. He's just, I mean, he's been kicked a lot by Volkanovski, by Max Holloway, by some other guys as well. But I don't think we really saw an effect of that. The only thing I'll say is the Jai Herbert head kick. I mean, we saw him get kicked in the head, and even in some fights pre-UFC, I believe he got kicked in the head as well. Just being naturally a shorter guy, it's just a little bit harder to avoid some of these head kicks. And for a guy like Islam, who's obviously going to be bigger than Topuria, it's going to be a lot easier for him to get a leg kick up there and possibly land it like he was able to do on Volkanovski. Volkanovski and Ilya are pretty similar size. So yeah, I do think head kicks are going to be a big plan or a big part of the plan of Islam Makhachev. But yeah, that's really the fight. That's the fight everybody wants to see. That's a fight I want to see. There's a lot of good fights that could be made in the UFC at this point. Obviously, Khamzat versus Strickus is one of them. Even JDM versus Islam is one of them as well. It is a really, really fun and really, really good fight. But at the end of the day, everybody wanted to see Ilya versus Islam. We didn't get it the first time. Maybe if certain things go our way, maybe we'll see it at 170 or at 155. But at this point, there's just a lot of moving parts and a lot of questions on whether or not this fight will actually happen. So, yeah, we'll see. We will see. John's a little bit nervous about all this Islam versus Ilya talk. But yeah, hope Uncle Dana gets this done soon. I do as well. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I mean, I guess I don't know. I was just trying to think, like, what's the most likely scenario that we get this fight? And my initial thought was Ilya wins against Gaethje, Patty, or Arman, and then Islam wins against JDM, which probably I would agree with. But if Islam loses to JDM, does he just move back to 155 and then we get that title fight at 155? I don't know. I think there's two possibilities on how we can get this done. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see. But hopefully Dana does get this fight done. We'll see. I mean, we really wanted the John Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight. Obviously, we didn't get that. I kind of talked about it, how I thought we may still still get that fight because of the whole White House card or potential White House card. It seems like that White House card is going to happen, by the way. So I think there's a possibility we could see Tom versus John, but still at this point, I don't think it's super likely. You know, sometimes when guys just don't want to fight somebody, can't Dana says this all the time, but you can't force somebody to fight somebody. So yeah, obviously we really want to see Islam versus Ilya, but you know, if one of the two doesn't want to fight each other, you know, it's going to be tough to put it together. I'm not saying that what's it called? That Islam does not want to fight Ilya, but I'm just saying theoretically, if that were true, it'll be tough to put the fight together. Man, John ducked him, I think. Yes, he definitely ducked him. He was waiting a really long time. You know, who knows? But it seemed like he was willing to fight anybody else outside of Tom Aspinall. He showed interest in fighting Francis Ngannou. He showed interest in fighting Alex Pereira alongside with some other guys. So I honestly believe that if the UFC said, all right, we'll give you the Alex Pereira fight, or if we'll give you the Francis Ngannou fight, somehow they got him to re-sign with the UFC, I think John Jones would have accepted those fights. I think he just didn't want to fight Tom Aspinall for whatever the reason was in his mind. Some people can say he was scared. I personally don't think it's because he was scared. I think it's just because he thought it was probably the biggest risk with the least reward. Listen, this is not accurate, but I think this is what John Jones's mindset was about the Tom Aspinall fight. I think he thought Tom Aspinall was not a legitimate champion, and he wasn't a guy that was going to add much credence to Jones's name. Like if he beat Tom Aspinall, in his mind, I don't think he thought it would have been a huge win for him. I think he thought if he beat Alex Pereira, Pereira's seen to be a legend, a two-division champ, and if he beat Pereira, it would be a huge win for him. If he beat Francis Ngannou is a former champion, also a decently big name, it would be a huge win for him. But I think in his mind, Tom Aspinall didn't live up to the level of those other two guys, and also I think in his mind he realized that Tom was also probably the toughest fight. For the Pereira fight, I mean, yes, you have to worry about Pereira on the feet. You have to worry about leg kicks. You have to worry about the left hook. But if you're able to get in that clinch, get on the body of Alex Pereira, you can probably take him down. Yes, he's shown great takedown defense against Ankalaev, but moving up a weight class to heavyweight and fighting John Jones is very different. The wrestling of John Jones is so much different than the wrestling of Ankalaev, especially also at a weight class above, as I touched upon before. So I think there was a very real path to victory, and John would be a pretty big favorite, I believe, against Alex Pereira. In the Francis Ngannou fight, I think that's a really tough fight. But I think John justified that fight in his mind because it was a relatively big name. Ngannou was a former champion. They were also supposed to put that fight together in the past, and John has shown interest on that fight in the past. So yeah, but for Tom, it just didn't rise to the same level as the other two guys. Is basically my thought of what his thoughts were. That's basically what I think about that. But yeah, he definitely ducked Tom Aspinall. It sucks, but maybe we could still see that fight. I mean, maybe the White House card, brings that fight together. And maybe by the time we get to the White House card, which would be in July of next year, maybe Tom Aspinall can get a few title defenses under his belt. Maybe he'll get more buzz around his name. Not saying there's no buzz around it now, but maybe he can get more buzz and more legitimacy for John Jones to, appreciate Tom Aspinall more, I guess you can say. And maybe we can see that fight happening on the White House card, but we'll see. I don't think it's super likely, though. Do you watch any other sports? Yeah, I watch a lot of sports. I watch basketball, football, American football, baseball, a little bit, not too much baseball, and a little bit of hockey. I watch a bunch of different sports. But I started watching MMA, honestly, not that long ago, probably in like 2019. I really started to get into it. And ever since then, I've just been watching a lot of it. I've been watching every card. I've been watching every horrible Apex card I've been watching. And yeah, I just been a huge fan of MMA ever since I found it. I mean, I was watching some MMA before 2019. I did watch Conor Khabib, but at that point I wasn't really. I was essentially just a casual, and I just wanted to watch a Conor fight. But ever since 2019, I really started to get into the sport a lot more. And at this point, I watch every single card, even if, as I said, it's a shitty Apex card. Well, yeah. What about you though? Do you watch any other sports? Basketball, football, baseball, hockey, tennis? Is there anything else that you watch? Um, but yeah. Also on the YouTube side of things, um, I don't know if you guys have been watching some of the recent videos that have been coming out, but kind of my schedule for the YouTube aspect is I stream every single day, 8 p.m. Eastern time during the week, Monday through Friday, and then on Sundays I stream at 2 p.m. Eastern time. But outside of that, for long form videos, I post on Wednesdays and Fridays. But I was thinking about adding another upload to that. I kind of been having some more time than I expected to have going into the summer, so I was thinking about potentially put together 3 videos a week instead of the normal 2. So I think I'm most likely going to be doing that probably after next week, after the UFC 318 card. Um, Probably the week after, I'll start to be doing 3 uploads a week. I'm just trying to really grind this YouTube thing. It's been a lot of fun live streaming, putting videos together, and just interacting with you guys, talking about MMA. It's been really fun. Um, and I really appreciate you guys just for being here. I watch F1, football, a little bit of basketball, and hell of cricket, hell of a lot of cricket. I'm assuming that's pretty cool though. That is pretty cool. I'm not really into F1 at this point, but it seems pretty cool. Probably I'll look into it, maybe watch a little bit of it. Stream is fire. Keep it up, bro. Thanks so much, man. I really do appreciate it. Thanks, guys, just for being here. Obviously, I honestly really just started streaming like 2 weeks ago. I've been posting for a while, but I really started to take this YouTube channel a little bit more seriously not too long ago, and I've been streaming. I started my streaming schedule like 2 weeks ago, probably at this point, and it's been really fun. As I said, just interacting with you guys, answering questions, and all that. But yeah, it's been fun. But yeah, so outside of that, obviously, just talking a little bit more about this upcoming card this weekend, Teixeira versus Derek Lewis. We also have Morgan Charriere versus Nate Landwehr. I think this is a sleeper fight. I think this could be a really good one. Nate Landwehr really pushes the pace, and Charriere is pretty physical. He doesn't have great boxing, but he has great kicks, very powerful kicks, and I think that could be a factor in this fight. But I think Nate Landwehr could win that fight, honestly. If he's able to get in boxing range, potentially drown Charriere a little bit. When you talk about those explosive guys that hit really hard, they tend to gas out a little bit as the fight does progress. And when you talk about a guy, Nate Landwehr, who really pushes a pace and has a pretty good chin and kind of is just one of those cardio guys, I think he has a real chance to tire Charriere out. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in that one. But I think that's going to be a very action-packed, fun fight. Man, you have to watch F1. Just watch the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. This is the greatest Grand Prix of all time. It's like Khabib Conor, the F1 of the world. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I have a friend that's pretty into F1 actually, so I can I'll check that one out. Thanks for the suggestion, and maybe I'll ask him about some races to watch as well, and when upcoming ones are, and maybe I'll get a little bit more into it. But yeah, that does seem pretty cool. But yeah, 1 second, boys. I'll be right back. 1 second. Chat, what's going on, boys? Sorry, apologize for that. But yeah. Anyways, so what were we talking about? We were talking about this upcoming card, Teixeira and Lewis. What we got? Joshua, what's going on, brother? What do you think about how McGregor was acting towards Mike Perry? What did that just come out today? I saw that that there were a couple announcements with BKFC, and I saw that Connor was heading the stage or whatever. He was manning the press conference or whatever was going on, but I didn't actually see it. Actually, I might as well pull it up right now. I'll put it up right now. I just saw it on X. That was the first thing I saw as soon as I opened up X. So let's see. Let me see if I could pull this up. Quickly, I might as well just announce this. BKFC has announced the following signings. Yoel Romero, Thiago Santos, Aspen Ladd, and Derek Brunson. They signed all of those guys and girl. But yeah, let's pull this up. Let's go here. All right. Apologize. Just bear with me for a second, boys. Let's do percent. Let's do this. Let's do this. Just throw it up here. We get full screen this.
Yeah, you're welcome back because I welcomed you back. October 11th is your date, and you'll dance for me, boy. You'll dance for the owner, and then we can talk. But your date is October 11th. Michael Perry, the return of Platinum. And we've got some hell of an announcement for an opponent for you. One of the baddest men to ever grace the Ultimate Fighting Championship when it comes to bare knuckle. And he's going to throw down with you in front of me for my viewing pleasure. And then I'll decide if you're worthy. Yeah, you're welcome back because I welcomed you back. October.
Yeah. Dude, whatever you want to say about the coke allegations or whatever, he's probably on coke there, honestly, but he's hilarious. Connor's just really funny. But yeah. McGregor's the go-to promoter. He honestly is a really good promoter. The BKFC got pretty lucky that they were able to bring Connor along. Let me just charge this quickly. 1 second. But yeah, no, he's really funny, really good promoter. And we'll see what happens. I actually think the BKFC is doing some pretty good things. I don't know when their last event was before this upcoming one or what. I'm actually not in tune of what's going on lately, but I don't know. I actually think they put on some pretty fun events. They're signing a lot of UFC guys and some girls as well. And I think they're doing a pretty good job at putting some good cards together. Obviously, it's kind of like a niche thing. It's bare knuckle boxing. It's UFC guys that are kind of past their prime, and it's never going to be the same appeal, obviously. But they're doing a pretty good thing for themselves, I think. McGregor versus Perry would be very interesting. That would be really fun. Yeah. I just don't know where Connor is at this point. He's all over the place. He wants to fight Mike Perry in the BKFC, or I don't know if he does, but he's mentioned it in the past. Then he's talking about how he wants to fight on the White House card. Then he's talking about how he wants to run for prime minister or president. I'm not sure how it works actually, but he wants to run for office in Ireland. So there's just so many. There's just so many different things that are on his mind, and one day he wants to do this, the next day he wants to do this. So I don't know if any one of those three things are going to come to fruition, but yeah, if McGregor ever fights Chandler at the White House card, or if he fights anybody in the UFC on the White House card, that would be really fun. That would be a really good thing for the sport, in my opinion. And regardless of how long McGregor's been out, and regardless of what people think about him, if he's washed or whatever, I personally will still be excited to see a McGregor card. And And I think it'll be a good thing for the sport. And if McGregor were to, retire from the UFC, I guess, and fight in bare knuckle against Mike Perry, I mean, yeah, that would also be really fun. Mike Perry's obviously had a lot of success over there at bare knuckle. So doing McGregor versus him over there would be honestly pretty cool as well. But we'll see. I mean, are any one of those two things going to happen? I don't really know. McGregor's just one of those guys at this point that I don't believe anything until I see him walking out. For the Chandler fight, when it got announced, I wasn't even sure if it was going to happen. And when it officially got announced, I was like, all right, maybe it could happen, or maybe it is going to happen, or whatever. But then when it was like 2 weeks out and he pulled out, I thought at that point it became pretty obvious that we're probably not going to see Conor McGregor ever fight again. Now, obviously, at that point, I wasn't expecting the UFC to go to the White House, and maybe that could be the catalyst that brings Conor back to the UFC. But even then, like, listen, if Conor signs a fight, if Conor shows interest in a fight, as I said, I don't know. I won't believe it until I see him walking out. That's kind of the stance that I hold with Conor at this point. But yeah. But we will see what happens with Conor. Something happened with the stream. Is anyone in here? It kicked everyone out of chat or something. What happened? But yeah, let me just throw this up quickly. There we go. But yeah. One thing about Conor that I will say is there's never a dull moment with Conor. It's always exciting. It's always exciting. Josh is still here. Okay, perfect. What's going on, brother? Thanks for being here, by the way. But yeah, so what else do we have? But I did notice something happened. Yeah, I don't know what happened. But it seems like it's back to normal now, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that was weird. But anyways, so I guess, I mean, listen, we can talk about specific fights if you guys are interested in any specific fights for this upcoming weekend. But as I said, how I see this card, it's kind of just a Black Door Heroin card, just because we didn't have a card last week. And this card, Derek Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira, it's kind of there's not much meaning for most of these fights on this card, but it's a card. It's not in the Apex, and some of these fights I think could be pretty fun. So whatever. I mean, Derek Lewis is on the card. What more do you want? But we'll see. I mean, I think some of the fights could be fun, and I think they will be fun actually. Wonder Boy for the upset. I think it's actually like very possible. I know some people are pretty high on Gabriel Bonfim. I'm high on his grappling. I mean, he has really good submission game, and he's very physical. So I'm high on those aspects of his game, but I think on the feet he's very not polished at all. He hits pretty hard, and that's really where the success lies for him on the feet. But for the most part, he's really just trying to take you down and submit you. But if he's stuck on the feet with Wonder Boy, I think Wonder Boy is honestly going to pick him apart on the feet. But of course, with that being said, Wonder Boy has struggled a lot with wrestlers and has struggled with, keeping the fight on the feet in the past. And I wouldn't be shocked if Gabriel was able to take him down. So if I had to give my official prediction, I would lean towards Gabriel Bonfim. But at the same time, I think from a betting perspective, if you guys are interested in that, I probably will be taking Wonder Boy this weekend at plus 300. I think there's a real path to victory for him. Just keep the fight on the feet. I think he'll win if he's able to do that. Obviously, a lot easier said than done, but I think there's a real path to victory. And at plus 300, I think it's worth a shot. But yeah, speaking of betting ons and whatnot, might as well throw up FanDuel here and let's see if there's any bets that I like for this upcoming weekend. But yeah, let's see what we can do here. Sorry, it just takes me a second to do this now. But all right, let's do this. All right, perfect. So here's the we'll start with the prelims. So here's the card for this upcoming weekend. Let's see if there's any value. I didn't check this out yet, by the way. Well, I did see the Wonder Boy line, but I didn't check out some of the others. So This is interesting. I think this is probably fine. I don't think Kennedy's really that good, but I also don't think Walter Walker's that good either. So that's a pass for me. Um, these odds are not bad. I think maybe I would consider taking Cheaty. I don't think Jake Matthews is really all that good. I think the best aspect of Jake Matthews is his durability, and maybe that could prove to be an issue for Cheaty. But I think for the most part, Cheaty is a lot more explosive. He's a lot more physical. He's also just better, in my opinion. So possibly some value on Cheaty for this card. So that's something that I would mark. Chris Curtis, I think he's going to win at that number. I don't think it's a good number. Maybe you parlay him up with somebody else. Some other guys. I mean, listen, Tafa Junior Tafa is probably going to win, but getting anybody at plus money versus Junior Tafa, I don't think is a bad idea. I don't think Tafa is really that good. He can't stop leg kicks. He can't stop the wrestling. He doesn't hit that hard. There's not really much to like about Junior Tafa, at least in my opinion. I know he cut weight. I know he looks a lot better, but we kind of see that all the time where guys look really good in a certain lighting or a certain setting in training camp. Then you see them out there on fight night and they look as fat as ever. So I'm not really putting too much stock into Junior Tafa, looking a lot better, and he's going to be fighting a lot better. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to take this or not. I don't think Tuco is good either, but maybe something getting plus money against Junior Tafa. Petrino's almost definitely going to win by KO, I think. I don't think he's very good, but Austin Lane just gets hit way too much, so I don't think there's value there. This one that I was talking about before, actually, I think this is probably decent value. Nate Landwehr, I mean, he's relatively durable. He has decent boxing if he's able to get on the inside. On the outside, I think it's going to be a nightmare with the kicks of Morgan Charrier, but if he's able to get on that inside, push a pace, I think he can have a lot of success by landing some shots, within that close boxing range. But also, I think if he's able to get it there, he can really grind and wear on Charrier and potentially tire out Charrier once we get to round 2 or round 3. And I touched upon this a lot, but Charrier is kind of he's kind of like an explosive guy. And if you're able to startle him in round 1, he's going to start to gas out a little bit as the rounds do progress. So I think this is probably good value. Nate the Train in the UFC. Let's go. Yeah, I'm a pretty big Nate the Train fan. But yeah, I think this is probably good value, honestly. Plus 200. Then we were kind of talking about this before. Wonder Boy at plus 300. I kind of like that as well. Is he going to win? I mean, I favor Bonfim, but at this number, there's a real path to victory for Wonder Boy. Just keep the fight on the feet. And yeah, so I think this is probably good value. And in the main event, there's really nothing there. Outside of, Taliesin by KO is minus 155. That's horrible odds, horrible value, but that's probably how he would win. Total rounds under 1.5 minus 200. There's nothing there. Let's see. Derek Lewis submission round 5. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Taliesin round 1 KO is plus 165. That's not even that good either. There's not much value on this card, I'm going to be honest. So I didn't really look at much props, but in terms of money line, this is what I would say that I like. Cheaty. I like Nate Landwehr. I like Wonder Boy. And that's it. These 3 guys. These are only 3 guys that I like on this upcoming card. There's not too much value, to be completely honest, but those are the 3 fights that I like, value-wise that I like. In terms of parlays, maybe you can parlay Teixeira and Chris Curtis minus 134. I mean, I think both these guys are going to win, so maybe this is a decent parlay you can put together. I don't know. Do you agree with the odds in the main? What are the odds? Let me just throw your comments up. I probably do, honestly. I probably do. I'm pretty confident Teixeira is going to win. Yes, if you have plus 230 for a guy in Derek Lewis that hits really hard, of course you have to be a little bit concerned about that. I mean, one right hand from Derek Lewis clean can easily knock out anybody. He can knock out a horse with that sort of power. So yes, you do have to worry about that. But with that being said, I think Towson's going to win. I'm fairly confident in it. I've been very wrong in the past, but I'm fairly confident in it. Yeah. So I'm fine with the odds. Honestly, I'm fine with the odds. John said, "What's the biggest underdog you have picked correctly to win?" The biggest underdog that I've picked correctly to win was Austin Lane versus he just got cut from the UFC. What's his name? The big guy that was supposed to hit really hard, the Taekwondo guy. What the hell's his name? Despain. Austin Lane versus Despain. I pick Austin Lane by decision because I thought Lane can get takedowns and just hold him down. I believe it was plus 1,000 or plus 1,200, whatever it was. That's literally what ended up happening. He got a takedown in every round, and he was able to hold Despain down, and he won. So I think that's probably my best cash that I've ever had, plus 1,000 or plus 1,200 on a single bet. I've hit parlays before, some pretty good parlays, but in terms of a single bet, I think that's my best one. I mean, I've hit some other pretty decent plays. I was decently heavy on Merab when he fought Umar. It's not like near some of the best odds that I've ever picked, but in terms of the fight itself, I was pretty happy with the way that panned out. He was like plus 260, I believe. So I was happy with that bet, but that was a bet I was pretty confident in. In the Austin Lane I wasn't super confident, but I thought it could happen. So yeah, that happened. Honestly, a lot of the fights that I post on my YouTube channel obviously those are the fights that I'm usually betting on. So if I make a video about a specific fight, I'm probably betting on that fight, unless the odds are just ridiculous. But yeah, so let me just go through it. Let's see some of the fights that I bet on. I bet on Pantoja via sub versus KKF, but that's nothing to write home about. I had Roundtree versus Jamal Hill, but I believe he was the favorite. I had Van versus what's his face, Royval, but I think Van was the favorite. What else? I had Merab versus Sean, but Merab was a huge favorite. We'll see how this pans out. I have Max Holloway versus Dustin for next week's card, so we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've done a bunch of betting over the years. Last year wasn't a great year for me, but this year thus far has been really good, actually. Some really good picks this year. So, it fluctuates. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Obviously not betting advice or anything like that, but I'm just giving out some plays that I think could potentially be decent. But yeah, so for this upcoming weekend, I don't really see much value, just like 3 fights. Honestly, I think I might not bet at all on this upcoming card. Might just sit it out and just enjoy and just watch the card. But for next week, there's a couple fights that I liked. Just checking early. Where is it? So here we go. Some fights. So these are kind of just like odds plays. I don't think these guys are that good, and I don't think they're, I'm super confident that they'll win, but just based on the odds, Bretsky and Prachnio, I think Bretsky and Prachnio are not great fighters, but the reason why I'm thinking about betting these is just because Ryan Spann is almost retired at this point. He looks so bad in some of his more recent fights. It just seems like he doesn't know how to fight anymore, and he's kind of just throwing shots and not even looking anymore. Ryan Spann looks pretty bad in some of his more recent fights. So getting a guy at almost plus 200 against him, I think is decent value. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to take Bretsky. And then for Prachnio, I don't think Prachnio is great either, but he has good kicks, and I don't think Jimmy Crute is much of a fighter, much of a good fighter either. So I think both of those could be value, in my opinion. Outside of that, one other thing that I really like is Vinicius Oliveira. I have a video coming out about this next Wednesday, I believe. I think Vinicius Oliveira is going to be very good at 135. He's really physical. He even has some decent tools, and I'm fairly confident that he's going to beat Kyler Phillips. I think he's just going to outwork him and drown him, honestly. Outside of that, I want to figure out a way to bet Kevin Holland, maybe by TKO or submission, possibly. I'll see what the odds are. but I think I'm very confident that Holland's going to win. Maybe I'll throw him in a parlay. So I like that. Kopylov is probably going to win this fight. And then, as I said, also Max Holloway I like. So those are just some plays that I like for this upcoming week. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out. Not too much betting action, honestly, within the next 2 weeks. There's not too many things that I really love. Once in a while, a couple times a year, there'll be a fight where I really love, like the Merab versus Umar. I really love that those odds. Drickus versus Strickland the second time, I really love those odds. And some other fights as well. But for these upcoming next 2 weeks, I don't really see anything that I love. I think Max Holloway is going to beat Dustin, but I don't absolutely love it. Ryan Spann is a good athlete from the town near me. He made a lot of potential, but didn't do anything. I completely agree. I think he could have honestly been pretty good. He has a really good guillotine, like a really good guillotine. He's really powerful. His striking is well, at this point, it's not good. But at a certain point, it was serviceable. I mean, it was solid. He just really didn't put things together. It is unfortunate. I really do think that Ryan Spann could have been pretty good. But, yeah, it just really seemed like he didn't put things together. And as of late, I mean, what was his last fight? He looked so bad in his last fight. But I forgot who he fought. Ryan Spann. Let's see. His last fight was against Waldo Cortez at Casa. He looked so bad. He got finished in the second round. He was kind of just throwing shots, and just I don't know. I don't even know what to say. But at a certain point, Ryan Spann, I thought could have been pretty good, but he just wasn't able to put things together. But I agree with you. He's a great athlete. He hits really hard. He even has some skill on the ground. But I think lack of IQ and lack of training is really why Spann was never able to put things together. I know some people say similar things about Kevin Holland, but in my opinion, I think Kevin Holland has a real chance to be a real contender at 170. Maybe that sounds crazy. I know he's been fighting like 79 times a year, and he'll win one, and then he'll lose one. He'll win one, lose one. But in my opinion, I think at 170, 185 is a different story. But at 170, I think he's actually a good fighter. And I think as of late in his last 2 fights, I have a video about this coming out next week. But I think in his last 2 fights against Luque and against who's the guy he fought before Luque? Whoever it was, it actually doesn't really matter. In his last 2 fights, I thought he had a much better approach going into the fight. So I think Kevin Holland has a real chance to be pretty good at 170. And I think he'll beat D-Rod, who's fighting this upcoming weekend, or for next weekend, I should say. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with him. But I know a lot of people say, there's similarities between the two because they're both really good athletes. They both hit really hard, and they both weren't able to fulfill their potential. And maybe that will be true for Holland. Obviously, there's been a bunch of fights where you see him out there, and it's like, this guy should be better than what he's showing. But I think at this point, he's taking his career a little bit more seriously. He has better game plans. He has better adjustments. He's utilizing more assets within his game, utilizing his submission skills as well as his ability on the feet. And I just think he's actually game planning for some of the opponents he's going up against, which is a difference from prior. But yeah, I do agree with you, Joshua. Spann is it's not great. I wouldn't be surprised if he retired relatively soon. I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to get knocked out by Bretsky. I don't think Bretsky's that kind of guy. But I could see Bretsky winning just because Spann just isn't that good anymore. But Spann should win that fight. He should win that fight. It's a very winnable fight. I rewatched Holloway Wonderboy earlier. Forgot how exciting that fight was. I've actually never watched a fight. I got to watch that fight. Wait, Holloway? Am I thinking of the wrong guy? Oh, Kevin. I don't know what the hell I just read. I don't know what I just read. Holland versus Wonderboy. Yeah. I did watch that fight. I was like, what? But that was an amazing fight. Holland actually had a lot of success early round 1. He landed a big shot. He hurt Wonderboy, almost finished him. But eventually he broke his hand. I think Holland probably could have won that fight. He also fought really stupid at that point. At that time he had no game plan, and he was also fighting stupid. He had top position on Wonder Boy. His hand was broken, and he decides just to stand back up against a really good striker. It just didn't make any sense. But I think at this point he had a little bit of a mind switch, and I think he's fighting a little bit more smartly, I guess you can say. But that fight was really exciting, though. For an entertainment factor, really, really exciting fight. Holland had the hair going on when he had half of his hair braided. He was throwing big shots in the feet, almost found the finish round 1. But then after that, Wonder Boy was able to, kind of implement his game plan, landed a bunch of spinning wheel kicks. And I think after that fight, in other fights as well, Holland has shown an amazing chin. But after that fight, it was really where I was like, all right, I don't know if you can knock Kevin Holland out at 170. His chin is just ridiculous. He took 3 or 4 spinning wheel kicks to the head. I know Wonder Boy doesn't hit the hardest, but a spinning wheel kick is a spinning wheel kick. And Holland was taking a lot of those. And in other fights, he took a lot of shots. It just seems like his chin is insane. I don't know what to say. And that's another reason why I think he could be pretty good at 170. But yeah, I mean, he's super active. You can never talk about ring rust when you talk about Kevin Holland. So we'll see how his career does pan out. He's already on a 2-fight win streak. I believe he'll beat D-Rod. I'm very confident in that, actually. And we'll see where he goes from there. Maybe he can put together a little bit of a win streak and move up the ranks. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, what else? I'm interested to see how Paulo Costa comes back. I mean, with Paulo, they were supposed to fight on the last pay-per-view, and I think Paulo pulled out. Was it an injury, or was he not going to make weight? I don't really know what the reason was. But Paulo's it's just like a weird one at this point. Ever since the Adesanya fight, he just never looked the same. And Kopylov, I think, is a winnable opponent, winnable fight for Paulo, but he doesn't fight anymore. So he's probably going to have ring rust again. He fights once a year, if that. I believe his last fight was over a year ago at this point. So he's probably going to have ring rust. Also, he's just not as aggressive as he used to be, at least in some of his more recent fights. Maybe he'll make a change. Maybe he'll be more aggressive in this fight versus Kopylov. I think he needs to be if he wants to win. Can't really fight at range against Kopylov with his amazing kicks. Kopylov has great body kicks, as well as head kicks and leg kicks. So there's a lot, to worry about if you're fighting Kopylov at range. But I think it's a winnable fight for Paulo, but I'm just not super confident at this point that he's going to look good. Honestly, it is unfortunate, but Adesanya seems like he took something out of Paulo, and he's just not fighting, honestly, at this point. So it's unfortunate. But yeah, then you have the Kevin Holland versus D-Rod fight that I was talking about before. Then you have Danny Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. This is an interesting one. I think Danny Ige is probably going to win. Pitbull is such a weird fighter to me. He's a guy who literally does nothing until he does. Well, I guess that could be said about anybody. But he kind of just stands there. It doesn't really do much. Is pretty defensively sound. He doesn't take too many shots, but he doesn't, go for it a lot of the time. And it definitely hurt him a lot in his career with Bellator. And I believe it hurt him in his last fight versus Yair Rodriguez. He was kind of fighting at Yair's pace, and he was fighting at Yair's range, where he was just taking a bunch of kicks from Yair. What you want to do against Yair is get on that inside and start to put together combos and land some big punches. But Pitbull just almost like refused to do that, which I thought was kind of weird. So yeah, he's kind of a weird fighter. I mean, you're going to see the occasional like really big highlight from him. At this point, he's getting a little bit older, so we'll see. But I lean with Danny Ige. I think Ige is probably going to win that fight. But interesting fight, Danny Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. What a world. Then we have Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. That's going to be a really fun one, I think. Probably a TKO or a KO for Zellhuber, I think. Zellhuber is coming off the fight of the decade. No, actually, no. The fight of the decade was Royval versus Fan. Listen, I know that tag gets thrown out a lot. Oh my God, that was the best fight I've ever seen. and it's usually like recency bias. Whatever great fight you saw last is the greatest fight you ever seen. But I honestly, truly believe that Van versus Royval might be the best fight I've ever seen. It was insane. I mean, it was constant action for 3 rounds. I know there was no finish and whatever. It's 125. These guys don't hit as hard, and some people don't necessarily like that. But in my opinion, that was super exciting. And honestly, I think that was probably the best fight I've ever seen, honestly. Um, but yeah, but Zell Huber's last fight was honestly an amazing fight, generational type fight against what's his face, the Argentinian guy. But that was a great fight, and he's coming back to face Michael Johnson. I think he's probably going to find the TKO. I mean, with MJ, you always have to worry about the hand speed. His hand speed is ridiculous. But at this point, you know, he is pretty hittable. I think Zell Huber will be able to find a shot in the end, and I think he'll probably be able to find the TKO. But yeah, I mean, listen, we have some decent fights this weekend. We have some decent fights next weekend. Nothing like insane or anything like that, but some decent fights, and we'll see what happens in those matchups. I think really the next card, ironically, it's a fight night, but I think the next card that I'm like actually really excited about is Whitaker versus RDR. I think that card is like legitimately really good. That's like a legitimate pay-per-view kind of card. RDR versus Whitaker. Infloya versus Pico, which appears to be the #1 contenders fight at this point. Then you have Peter Yan versus Marcus McGee. Weird matchup, but if Peter Yan's fighting, it's an exciting fight. Then you have Bryce Mitchell versus Nurmagomedov. Then you have Shara versus Marc-Andre Barrio. On the prelims, you have Krylov versus Guskov. You also have Ebo Islam on the fight. He usually puts on exciting fights. Then you have Almabayev, who also puts on exciting fights at flyweight. Then you have Budai on the card, whatever. Then you have Yaya on the card, whatever. Then this is also a good fight. Davey Grant versus Damon Blackshear. I think Blackshear is pretty good and pretty fun fighter. And he's also making improvements to the stand-up. I think that card is really the next card that I'm personally really excited about. I believe it's the Abu Dhabi card, but I don't know exactly where it is. I'm assuming it's in Abu Dhabi. But that's really the best card that we have coming up. This pay-per-view at UFC 318 it's you know, there's some fun fights, of course, but it's not a card that I'm super excited about. And also this upcoming weekend, it's also not a card that I'm super excited about. Just, you know, some fun fights. I'll definitely be watching, but yeah, nothing like crazy high level, honestly. But yeah, I'm kind of just excited to get to that Abu Dhabi card. I'm also really excited to get to UFC 319 for Trickus Khamzat. We'll see how they fill out the rest of the card, but Trickus Khamzat is just like, that's one of those fights where it's just, you know, like super exciting going into it. The walkouts are going to be really exciting. And it's just honestly like one of those fights that you really don't know who's going to win. I think, as I said, the first round is going to determine the fight, in my opinion. But still, either one of these guys could easily win. It's two guys that are super dominant. Both are undefeated in the UFC. Khamzat's undefeated in general. Trickus is undefeated in the UFC. And both guys, more so Khamzat, but both guys have also looked relatively dominant in a lot of their fights as of late. So it's always cool when you match up two guys like that up against each other, and it'll be really interesting. Obviously, as we talked about before, there were some rumors of Khamzat potentially retiring if he did win the belt at UFC 319 against Trickus. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I don't know personally. I would probably say no. The rumors coming from Caio Borralho, and Borralho has had some bad information in the past. He said that Trickus, you know, broke his leg and he's going to be out for a year plus, and Trickus is fighting Khamzat, you know, not too long from now. So he had bad information in the past. So maybe he's just making things up. Maybe he just has bad information, or maybe he's right. Who knows? But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Khamzat Chimaev retiring came from Caio Borralho, the same dude as that's hilarious. That's actually hilarious. Yeah, I was just talking about that. That's so funny. But yeah. Great minds think alike. But welcome to the stream, by the way. But yeah, that's where the rumors came from. but yeah, fuck Bahio, not believing that clown. Yeah, I mean he's had bad information in the past, as you said, with Dricus's leg being injured. So yeah, I don't know. I personally think it's probably not accurate information, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see if Khamzat wins the fight, and if he does win the fight, we'll see what happens. But I'm personally assuming he's probably going to continue fighting. I think he's just one of those guys that just loves fighting and is going to want to continue to fight for some time. I mean, the reasoning behind what Kaya was saying was because Khamzat just continuously gets sick all the time going into training camps, and he's dealing with injuries, and obviously he missed weight, and he's super rich at this point. So why would he want to continue fighting after winning the belt? That's his ultimate goal, which, I mean, I guess probably does make sense for certain fighters. I just don't know if Khamzat's that guy that it makes sense for, in my opinion. I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. I think there's other guys in the UFC that I could see retire early, like Ilya and Islam. I talked about it a bunch of times. I think both of these guys are going to retire early. I think for Ilya, if he moves up, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but theoretically, if he moved up and got that third belt at 170, I think he will retire immediately. At that point, I don't think there's anything more that he could do or he would want to do. I don't think Ilya is that kind of guy that really cares about title defenses. I think he's that kind of guy that wants to get big names on his resume and get those big achievements, like a 2-division champ, which he was already able to do. Obviously, he was already talking about becoming a 3-division champ. Is he going to do that? I mean, obviously, very tough to do, but that's what's on his mind. That's what he wants to do. And I think if he was able to do that, he'll retire immediately. And for Islam, I think it's possible that he also retires relatively early. Honestly, I hope this doesn't happen. It'll be a bad thing for the sport. Islam is a great champion, and he's also a very exciting fighter to watch. But I think it's possible if he beats JDM, he may retire. It's possible. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it is possible. I mean, he's talked a bunch about retiring early. He talked a bunch about not wanting to fight all that much longer. His mom doesn't want him to fight. Also, Khabib obviously retired pretty early in his career as well. So if he were able to get, that second belt, if he beats JDM, I wouldn't be completely shocked if he retired. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, for Khamzat, I don't believe it's the right information, but we'll see. Now he's not going to retire if he beats JDM. He's going to get a title defense. Yeah, I mean, you might be right. I'm not saying that it is guaranteed to happen, or if I think it's going to happen. I just think it's possible. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed and try to get a title defense. Just continue to build his resume. At this point already, Islam has had a great resume. He's beaten some great guys over the years, Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski, as well as others. Obviously, at this point, he's going for that second belt. And if he's able to get that second belt, JDM is also a great win under his belt, just the name value itself. But also getting that second belt is a huge accomplishment, of course, as well. So, Islam is still pretty young at this point. He hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down or anything like that. So I do believe he can continue to fight for a lot longer. We'll just see how much more he wants to fight. But I wouldn't be surprised, as you said, if he does, look for one title defense or maybe more than one title defense at 170. Do we get that Ilya versus Islam fight at 170? It's possible. But a lot of moving parts, as I touched upon before. Ilya is going to need to beat one of Patty, Gaethje, or Arman. Ilya is probably going to need to beat JDM, and if both of those things happen, maybe we'll see Ilya versus Islam. I know Dana actually today, he was on the Nelk podcast, Full Send podcast, and he was talking about how if that scenario that I just mentioned happened, that we would have a super fight on our hands between Islam and Ilya. So obviously Dana wants to put that fight together. Obviously Ilya wants to put that fight together. The question is, are those things going to happen? Is Ilya going to win? I think he will. But is Ilya going to win? And is Islam going to win at 170 against JDM, which I think there's a decent chance. I think that's a tough fight. It's almost a 50-50 in my opinion, but obviously I think Islam could win, and he probably would be a slight favorite. In my eyes, I think he'll be a decent favorite in the betting odds, but in my eyes, I think he'll be a slight favorite. But yeah, definitely a lot of interesting things. I think there's a lot of potential super fights that we could see. with those two, with Khamzat and Dricus, obviously, as we were talking about before. John Jones versus Aspinall. I don't think that's super likely, but it's possible, I guess. In my opinion, the fight that I would really like to see, I don't know if this is going to happen, but the fight that I would personally really like to see is Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall. That's what I would like to see. I think that's really the fight to make. Two champions. Francis, a former champion that never lost his belt. Tom Aspinall, the current champion, the current undisputed heavyweight champion at this point. Put those guys up against each other and, just see what kind of fight you would get. I mean, it'll be a really exciting fight. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I know Dana doesn't like Francis, and he's very rigid in his ways. Even though that fight would make a lot of money, I think it'll be tough. Who you got, Movsar or Volkanovski? I think it's going to be a good fight if this fight does end up happening. Volkanovski versus Movsar. I do agree. I think this is probably the number one contender fight, Movsar versus Pico. But assuming Movsar does win, I would lean. It's a close fight. I think I would lean Volkanovski a little bit, to be honest, because I think at this point, the thing that Volkanovski struggles with, really probably throughout his entire career, but especially at this point, is guys that hit really hard and also are technical. For Movsar, he's very technical. He has great wrestling. His striking is also really good as well. He just doesn't hit very hard. Obviously, he has no finishes in his UFC career, which is something to be said about his power, I guess. So I think this is kind of a winnable fight. Is he going to have a wrestling advantage over Volkanovski? Yes, he probably will, but Volkanovski has been able to stop takedowns against Islam in the past and against a bunch of other guys as well. So I think this fight is probably going to be on the feet for the most part. And if this fight is on the feet for the most part, I think I would need to favor Volkanovski. Volkanovski is just too good on the feet, in my opinion. Great jab, great right straight, great leg kicks, even has good body kicks, switches stances at will. I just think there's a lot more weapons that Volkanovski can go to on the feet as compared to Movsar. Although I do believe Movsar is a good striker. I just lean towards Volkanovski because, as I said, a guy like Topuria is a nightmare matchup for Volkanovski because Topuria is technical and he hits really hard. But a guy like Movsar, he's very good. Obviously, on the feet, he's really good. His wrestling is elite. The problem with him is he just doesn't hit very hard. So I think because of that, this is a very winnable fight for Volkanovski. And I think I would slightly favor Volkanovski, but I think it's pretty clear that Movsar deserves this fight, deserves a title shot at this point. We'll see if he's able to beat Aaron Pico. I believe he will. But if he is able to win that fight, I do believe that that he's going to get the next title shot, and we'll see. I think it'll be a good fight, though. Really good fight between Volkanovski and Movsar. But yeah, that'll be a big one. That'd be a really good one. It's also interesting to see like how much longer is Volkanovski going to fight. Like, I would like to see him fight at least one more time, potentially against Movsar. I think Volkanovski versus Movsar, as I said, is a really good fight. But if Volkanovski does win that fight, probably the next guy, obviously a lot of moving parts, who knows? But in my opinion, probably the next guy is Gene Silva. And as I touched upon before, guys that Volkanovski struggle with are guys that hit hard and are technical. And I think Gene Silva is that guy. He's technical on the feet. He hits really hard, super physical. And I really don't want to see that fight, Gene Silva versus Volkanovski. I think in terms of like an entertainment value, it's a really fun fight. But in terms of me being a Volk fan, I don't really want to see that fight because I think Gene Silva would probably find a TKO or a KO finish in the end. Well, we'll see. But obviously, that's looking much further into the future. At this point, Gene Silva's next fight is against Diego Lopez. I think Gene will win. I'm relatively confident in that. Actually, I have a video coming out tomorrow going a little bit more in depth into that if you guys have any interest. Definitely be sure to check that video out. Coming out Friday, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. But yeah, definitely an interesting fight. Also, just wanted to shout this out quickly. If you guys are in here, if you guys are enjoying the live streams, be sure to hit that like button. Obviously, I live stream every day during the week, Monday through Friday. I also stream on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. and yeah, definitely a lot more live streams and obviously more videos coming out soon as well. Video tomorrow. Who do you think wins? Gene Silva fights Mofsar. I think Gene Silva, honestly. I kind of just think Gene Silva he's just like ridiculously good. Mofsar, listen, I don't want to take anything away from Mofsar. Mofsar is very good. I just think the thing that he lacks is that physicality. And I talk about it a lot, but physicality is so important. The guys, like when you look at some of the champions, let's actually bring this up. UFC rankings. Let's take a look. Let's throw this on the screen. So when you look at some of the champions, Alexandru Pantoja, very physical. Merab doesn't hit very hard, but I would still consider him to be pretty physical, honestly. Volkanovski, I think, is the one exception. He's actually not physical, but I think he's an exception. Ilia Topuria, super physical. Jack Della Maddalena, pretty physical. Dricus du Plessis, ridiculously physical. Magomed Ankalaev, I would consider him to be physical as well. And obviously, Tom Aspinall is ridiculously physical. So I know I talk about this a lot, and maybe it's annoying, whatever. But I think the guys that are at the champions and the guys that are at the top of the divisions, outside of currently Alexander Volkanovski, are guys that obviously have a lot of skill, which Mofsar does, but they're also guys that are very physical. And what I mean by physical is being able to take a shot well and being able to hit really hard, For Gene Silva, I think he checks off both of those boxes. He has a really good chin and he hits ridiculously hard. For Mofsar, I think he has a good chin, but he doesn't hit super hard. That's the thing about Mofsar, and that's the reason why I kind of lean Volkanovski over Mofsar, and I also kind of lean Gene Silva over Mofsar as well. Obviously, not taking anything away from him. He is very good. His wrestling is elite. We saw that in his fight against Aljamain Sterling. Aljo also is an elite wrestler, and Mofsar was able to get the better of him. Those scrambles were like ridiculously high level, by the way. Aljamain Sterling versus Mofsar. If you want to go back and watch a fight, an exciting fight, an exciting grappling fight, go back and watch that fight. That was just an extremely fun fight. Great scrambles. Both of the guys, both Aljo and Mofsar, were not okay with just getting top position and holding their constant scrambles. So that was a really fun fight. And obviously Mofsar is an elite wrestler. And maybe the wrestling can give problems to Gene Silva, but yeah, who knows? Gene Silva is scary. I hope Lopez can keep team top 3. I think Gene Silva wins, but yeah, listen, I mean, Diego is super physical as well. So he does have that going for him. He hits really hard. His chin is also like ridiculously good. Let me say this: if Gene Silva knocks out or TKOs Diego Lopez, I think this guy is a shoo-in, 100% guaranteed. No thoughts about it. He's going to be the champion of 145. Not because Diego Lopez is like ridiculously good or anything, but his chin is ridiculously good. So if Gene Silva knocks this guy out, man, I don't know. It could be tough for anybody going up against him. So yeah, I think we were kind of listen, it's really cool that Ilia moved up to 155. He was able to finish Charles Oliveira. I mean, I'm an Oliveira fan. I wasn't super happy about that. But for Ilia's perspective, it was really cool. He was able to do all those things and whatever. But I think the one thing that we missed out on with Topuria moving up is Gene Silva versus Topuria. That was the fight to make. Both of the guys I kind of think are kind of just on that ridiculously high level where they're super physical and they hit really hard and they're just very technical. And I think that was one of those fights, I mentioned some of those before. Khamzat Dricus, Islam Ilia, Gene Ilia is also one of those fights. I think I would favor Ilia a little bit, but it's kind of one of those fights that I think are pretty close, and I don't really know who would win that fight. As I said, I would lean Ilia, but Gene, in my opinion, is one of those guys that are just have like a real chance against Ilia. A lot of other guys I don't really think have much of a chance against him. Well, of course they have a chance, but not a good chance, I don't think. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's kind of one of those fights that I think we missed out on, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens if we're able to get that fight. One second, boys. I apologize, but yeah. Oh, interesting. I think it's a really good main event. Listen, I really wanted to see Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez. Obviously, they had that beef. I thought it was a perfect outcome. I mean, you could not have asked for a better outcome. Diego Lopez losing and Yair Rodriguez winning. Such an obvious fight. Put the fight together. But the UFC decided to go Lopez versus Gene Silva. Still a really exciting fight. But, you don't have the beef factor between Lopez and Yair. I think probably what the UFC was thinking, though, is they know Gene Silva has a chance to be a real star here, and they think he's going to be good. So they're like, all right, let's just give him a top 3 contender, top 4 contender, or whatever. What is Yair? Or Lopez. Let's see. Lopez is number 3, yeah. So the UFC was probably like, all right, we think Gene Silva is going to be really good. Let's give him a top, 3 guy. Let's boost him in the rankings, get him close to a title shot, and yeah, maybe that was more important to the UFC at this point. So they decided to put together Silva and Lopez. Obviously, I would have liked to see Lopez in a year, but this is still a really good fight, and I think it's also a good barometer to see how good Gene truly is. I mean, he looked extremely dominant in all of his fights, obviously. The Drew Dober fight was a ridiculously good performance, in my opinion. The what's his face? The Bryce Mitchell fight was also a really good performance. Bryce Mitchell just seemed like he wasn't in the same league as Gene Silva. It was pretty crazy. He kind of dominated him everywhere. It seemed like Bryce Mitchell was almost scared to be in there against Silva. I mean, I don't blame him. But yeah, he was able to dominate there. But at this point, Bryce Mitchell, or maybe you could say Drew Dober, are his best wins at this point. So he's looked amazing thus far. And I know a lot of people usually, talk like this, that, oh, this guy hasn't been tested. That means, he's not going to be good or whatever. But in my opinion, I don't really buy into that. He's fought the guys that have been put in front of him. He's dominated. But at the same time, there are those questions. Diego Lopez is going to be a huge step up as compared to Bryce Mitchell, obviously. So we'll see how Silva fares there. Alex Pereira's sister is going to be on No Show. Oh, I didn't know that, actually. I didn't know she signed with the UFC. I know she was with Karate Combat, but that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool that she signed with the UFC. Brings some excitement to the women's divisions. She's got a good left hook. She's got good power. So maybe there could be some excitement there. We'll see. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was happening. Yeah, what else we got here? Let's check Twitter, see if we got anything new. It's been a great stream, by the way. Thanks everybody for being here. We've been live for almost 2.5 hours. It's been really good. Thanks everybody for all your questions. Thanks for likes and everything. Thanks for being here. I really do appreciate it, boys. Here we go. They did make Yair versus Diego. Yair didn't sign the contract. Okay, I'm actually not super surprised about that. I think Yair talked about that he didn't want to fight Lopez next for whatever reason. He said he wants to fight him, but he doesn't want to fight him next. So maybe that's why. But if that is true, which I wouldn't be surprised, it probably is true. The UFC kind of did a pretty good pivot to go to Diego versus Gene Silva. I think it's a pretty good pivot. Let's see what we got here. Is that the guy who's part of the UFC BJJ? I heard about this, but I didn't do too much research into this. But yeah, the heavyweight division really needs new guys. I mean, listen, I touch upon this a lot, but the heavyweight division has Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, Volkov, I would say as well, Curtis Blades, Jelton Almeida, and maybe you can consider Sergey Pavlovich to be in there. 6 guys that I think are actually good. Everybody else I think kind of sucks. Maybe you can also add Talson Teixeira if he's able to beat Derek Lewis. Maybe you can add him as well. So then I guess it'll be 7 guys. But when you talk about guys Waldo Cortez Acosta, Maishin Tybura, Sergey Spivak, Derek Lewis probably as well, Tai Tuivasa, Shamil Gaziev, Mick Parkin, Budai, Kuniev. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on some of those guys. Those are 9 guys that I think really aren't that good. And honestly not what's it called? Rankings level. Not good enough to be ranked guys in the UFC. So the state of the heavyweight division really isn't good. So whatever new talent or whatever new additions the UFC can add to that division is definitely going to be a good thing. But yeah. Let's see. Okay, yes. So he's going to be. Oh no, he's not from the BJJ thing. He's from. I'm sorry. He's from 1FC, or yes, I believe he's from 1FC. But yeah, it is cool to add him. So he's actually gonna be on. He's gonna be on the Abu Dhabi card against Martin Budai. And I don't think Budai is really that great. So maybe a winnable fight for him. I'm hoping he turns out to be good. We really need more. What's it called? Talent at the heavyweight division. As I mentioned, we're kind of at a bad spot at this point. But yeah. What the fuck? I'm just doing a quick Twitter check. I just want to see if any new news came out or anything like that. All right. Slow news cycle. If we're talking about Ali Abdelaziz saying the only title fight that he didn't wear a suit for was Conor Khabib because he knew something was going to go down. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so nothing new at this point. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Some interesting things happening in the UFC at this point, I would say. We'll see what happens with Khamzat. I think he'll probably continue to fight, but we'll see what happens there. Also, the fight itself is so exciting. Honestly, I wish we could just skip forward to that. That's really the next thing that I'm really looking forward to. I think the Abu Dhabi card has a lot of fights that I'm also really interested in, but Turkish Khamzat is like that big fight that I'm excited about. But we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if you guys have any last second questions, be sure to let me know. I'll be sure to answer them in chat. But if not, we've been streaming for around 2.5 hours. All right, you know what? You convinced me, Joshua. I'll continue. The UFC is slowly getting all the best guys again. Only one's left or gone. Yeah. I mean, they've honestly done a really good job at doing that. It's just, obviously the roster already is not comparable to anywhere else. ONE FC, I mean, is ONE even doing MMA anymore? I don't even know if they're doing MMA anymore, but it's not close to that roster, that former roster, I guess. And the PFL just is not good at this point. And yeah, I mean, whatever guys that other organizations do get, it seems like the UFC is just signing them. They've done that a bunch as of late. So yeah, they're getting more guys. It's just, I think from what I would like to see from the UFC is just put good cards together from top to bottom. I mean, we have seen this on the Abu Dhabi card. I think that's a really good card. Maybe some other cards upcoming are going to be really good as well. But yeah, we just got to see more complete cards, I would say, get put together. But yeah. But anyways, yeah, so we've been streaming for around 2.5 hours at this point. I really appreciate everybody for being here. If you have any last second questions, just let me know in chat. They need to acquire Doombe 2. I agree. When was the last time he fought, by the way? It's been a while, right? Was his last fight when he had the glass stuck in his toe? Or did he fight again after that? I don't remember. Actually, I think he did fight again after that. But I think he only fought once after that. I'm not sure. But he's actually good. Obviously good striking, and he could stop takedowns as well. But yeah, I would like to see the UFC get him. I'm sure the PFL is not going to let him go, but we'll see. But yeah, all right. But yeah, anyways, I appreciate you guys for being here. Thanks so much for the questions and everything in the live stream. It's been a really fun stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be live streaming at 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and also be sure to check out the video coming out tomorrow. It's coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, thanks guys so much for being in chat, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, boys.